In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Did Deion Sanders use reverse psychology to go to PWI, Colorado? Why are so many men angry and frustrated with Deion Sanders' decision to uproot himself and go to the University of Colorado? Did Deion Sanders abandon the black community? Is the black community projecting some, not all, because of the lack of fathers and fatherlessness, and because of that, their anger has been more or less taken to another level? Why is it that we expect so much from our men when they do come in a spirit of servitude, but yet don't facilitate the proper outcomes that could have kept Deion Sanders at Jackson State? What say you? Be well.
I know y'all been hearing the rumors and everything that's been transpiring around about my whereabouts and what I'm going to do. And I'd like for y'all to hear it from me and not from anyone else. It is what it is. Either in coaching, you get elevated or you get terminated. Ain't no other way. You either elevated or terminated. And it ain't no graveyard for coaches where they die at the place. It don't work like that. They either gonna run you off or you gonna walk off upon your own recognizance. I've chosen to accept the job elsewhere next year. I'm gonna finish what we started. We're gonna dominate. I'm gonna be here to that end and that conclusion. And then when that conclusion, we will move on. Yeah, definitely. The report is true. They're not the only ones. The report is true. I'm not going to sit on here and tell all my business, but they're not the only ones. And I would be a liar if I told you they didn't. You know they did. I know they did. Everybody there know they did. So it is what it is. That's not my focus right now. My focus is to win and to be dominant, and then to not even to go on to the Celebration Bowl. My focus is right here in this beloved stadium to be dominant on Saturday. That's my focus. And I keeps the main thing. And everyone that knows me know that about me. I have an innate ability to focus and keep the main thing.
Pain. I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have.
Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
All right, guys, we're going to get deep into it on tonight. We're going to get deep into it, well, not on tonight, but on today. We're going to talk about a topic that's been dear to my heart, but also been dear to the recent news I'm sure you guys have heard of. The recent news of Deion Sanders going to the University of Colorado to take that job. There's been a lot of consternation, guys. There's been a lot of consternation. There are some that are saying that Deion Sanders used Jackson State for its own selfish motivation. There are some that saying that Deion Sanders did as much as he could with what he had, and Deion Sanders actually helped Jackson State more than Jackson State helped him. What do you guys think about the topic as we talk about Deion Sanders in a trending topic, leaving Jackson State to go to a PWI? And in case you guys don't know, a PWI stands for Private White Institution. That's what it stands for. So we're going to explore the dynamics of this particular show. We're going to see if Deion Sanders really was a man of valor, or if Deion Sanders really was looking out for his own self under the guise of black people, black community, and black families. Get your pens and paper ready. Did Deion Sanders laugh all the way to the bank? Did he use Jackson State, or did Jackson State use Deion Sanders? Let's do it.
Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Ooh, go. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Go. Ooh, yeah. I got it in 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s. Laugh it to the bank like pedal to the floor, need no brake lights. In the dark, watch you make light. I'm a star, got no stage fright. Please don't get me mad, I'm a nice guy. My baby say I'm cute, yeah, I'm type 5. I be waking up when you go night-night. In a different zone with the time. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Ooh, go. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. I got it in 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s. I get it, I flip it and continue. I've been going dumb, I've been going mental. Going up, I'm on another level. All black clothes like I'm metal. Little this and this, little Ricky Rick. My grandmama, I'm her Nicky Nick. I just wanna love, but I've been hit or miss. I might up and leave, and take a pic. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Ooh, go. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Yeah. I got it in 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s.
All right, guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Some having a lot of consternation about Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State to go to PWI Colorado. And once again, PWI actually stands for Private White Institution. And listen, I can see the dichotomy between the two. I went to a PWI and a HBCU. And they both have their own redeeming qualities and values. I would say in general, some or many PWIs might have more resources, but that's not any doing to the HBCUs. They have historically not given black institutions more money. But then on the flip side, one will argue, do black folks support their own institutions and schools? But then also on the flip side, one could argue, do HBCUs do enough so that their alum can give back? Because when I was at UNC Chapel, preparing me, they definitely tailored to the needs of me as a student more than UNC. So they both have their own redeeming values. They all have their own redeeming values, to say the least. But there are some that are saying that Deion Sanders used Jackson State to get this job, that his intentions of talking about white institutions was just a ploy to get the job. And me personally, I think it's a little bit of both. I think if Deion could have had an opportunity to go to a PWI off gate, I don't know if he would have went to Jackson State. Some are saying that Jackson State was the only school that was looking at him at the time. And if that's the case, that's fine. But I also would say that Deion Sanders did more for Jackson State than Jackson State actually did for Deion Sanders. So, the information is coming out. But also, guys, it's just a psychological issue that we're seeing. It's just a psychological issue that we're seeing, meaning that, we expect black men to be saviors. And I'll tell you something, as a therapist, there's a concept called compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue happens when you give your best and, you burn out one person because one person is trying to save a community that was never meant for one person to save. But this is a situation that was meant for many people to participate in. And so many get frustrated, many get mad. But, Deion Sanders, in my opinion, did Jackson State more of a favor than Jackson State did Deion Sanders. He's primetime. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a top-tier dude. But then on top of that as well, some will say that Deion Sanders used God and religion as a ploy to justify moving on. So I think the truth is in the details. I think it's a little bit of both, to say the least. And some are saying that the news is coming out that actually Jackson State did Deion Sanders wrong. And then there's also stories of the school being in horrible conditions. When it came down to the actual university, they said Jackson State actually sold out a lot, but you're selling out, but you can't use that money to belly your campus and get those kids the things that they need. So we're going to talk about it, guys. Get your pens and paper up already. Share this content. Hit the like button. Hit all notifications. If you like what I'm doing at some point, if you're led to donate to the channel, feel free to do it. And as I told you guys, I'm putting in a lot of work and money to get this channel to a whole nother level. This kicked out literally $3,000 in upgrades in a new system. And so we're going to take it to another level. But in the meantime, let's talk about the story, the breaking news. As you all know, that Deion Sanders announced that he was going to the University of Colorado, or PWI. And some are saying that it could be to Deion's demise, because if he's not winning at Colorado, then his white predecessors are not going to be as understanding as perhaps Jackson State. But let's be real. Whether you're at a PWI or HBCU, they all expect you to win. I get it. The big donors and the big boosters at a historically white school might want you to win quicker and faster. I get that. But we're going to have a conversation. Is this classic projection? Is this displaced aggression? Because some of these men that got upset with Deion leaving, Deion symbolizes the father they never had. We can look at it from many angles. And we can come up with our own conclusion of what's actually going on, to say the least. Let's go to some of these comments real quick. Black Jack said that he says he can begin to open more doors, right, at PWIs. I can agree. I see that point. I believe that. And he said that facilities budget at Jackson State was garbage. Despite winning, they weren't trying to rectify those things. Yes, I can see that point, Blackjack. I can definitely see that point. Carl for President said that it's nice to see Deion, I assume, be at Jackson State. The alumni was BSing and he got frustrated. So he went where he went. I get why he left. But all that good level up morality stuff is 100% BS. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think he used God as a scapegoat to justify leaving. If you want to leave, just say I'm gonna leave and keep it at that. But don't put God in it. And so, like I said, it's some truth in what Deion said. I think Deion did have a passion, but some stirs are saying that Deion Sanders gave his own money to Jackson State when he decided to go there to be the head coach at Jackson State, and it just more or less ask yourself the question. Why does the community expect black men to come back and serve in a spirit of servitude when in actuality the things we need to do to make things better, we don't do it ourselves? Deion Sanders, in my mind, as I said earlier, did Jackson State a favor going to Jackson State. I don't think Jackson State did Deion Sanders as much as a favor. And if you're used to facilities and elite schools like PWIs, and even though we have some good schools in North Carolina, like at A&T is considered to be one of the better HBCUs. It's like one of the higher tiers. North Carolina Central is as well. I don't really blame Deion Sanders, but if Deion Sanders used Jackson State and talking all that hoorah about going to HBCUs and trying to get HBCUs up to the level and then use the school and just decide to abandon the school, then I don't know. I got a problem with it. But they say that the news is coming out, as I said earlier. And Deion Sanders now, guys, is laughing to the bank as he's about, or reportedly is about to make over $5 million annually when he was only making $300,000 annually at Jackson State. And that's almost 5 times the salary. But then some will say that, why not the loyalty? Why not use the situation that you have and use your star acclaim to continue to give the conversations to historically black colleges and universities? And someone said earlier, integration messed all of that up. They took some of the better talents, and some of the better talents decided to go to where else they can go. And then on the flip side, some can argue why they're not mad at Travis Hunter. If you guys know, Travis Hunter is actually going to Colorado with Deion Sanders, and also Shedeur Sanders. He's also going to the University of Colorado as well. And so, I got mixed views on it. I think Deion Sanders left Jackson State in a better state than it was before he came. He got them big endorsement deals with Under Armour. He got better facilities for the school. But I know as a therapist many times, sometimes our folks want excellence for the cheap. They don't want to pay you. They take what you do for granted many times, some of them. It can be very thankless. There's a lot of compassion fatigue, and compassion fatigue basically means that you have such a love and a desire to see people do well that you burn yourself out in the process. And compassion fatigue, guys, many times happen a lot with therapists. We get burnt out because we put in all this work, we put in all this desire to see people do well, and they don't do it. And I'm going to tell you something, at this stage of my life, I'm not burning myself out for nobody. I'll put you in the right position. If you do it, fine. If you don't, I personally don't care, because when you're in that cold box and when you're in the grave, folks going to continue to do those things that are dysfunctional. If you don't value yourself, if you don't value your community, you don't value your institution, you cannot expect Deion Sanders to come back and be a savior for a school. You can't expect that. But you won't. In my mind, it's like we want black men when they come down to servitude to give their services for free. But when they come down to power, sadly, many of our women, we don't honor and respect our men at that level. And I get it, some of these boys grew up without father. There have been reports that when Deion was at Jackson State, there are people that broke inside of his office more than once. So what does that say? You don't even value the coach that you have. You don't value your institution. There have been stories of condom wrappers being all over the place. And I was on Obsidian's, I'm sure earlier this morning, we were talking about the story. And then also Willie D, he talked about it. And he was talking about how he felt about Deion Sanders going abroad. And we're going to talk about that as well. But in the meantime, guys, get the likes up. If you like what I'm doing, donate to the channel. I'm going to read through some of these comments. Shout out to my man, Big Bass Life. That's my homie. He says, salute to the one and only Coach of Clinician, Zoom Tribe, no doubt. My man, Blackjack, said that was an easy one, no doubt. Right. KP said they should be thanking him. And the democracy, you got to die before you get appreciated. Right. But not me. I'm not going to die before I get some appreciation. I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm going to help the ones who want to be helped, but I'm not going to die on the sword trying to save a community that when I was coming up in my ascension, the community never gave back to me. Did the community give it to Deion Sanders? I would say no. I don't think the black community gave to Deion Sanders when he was at Florida State. But we always want black men to give back to the community for the sake of the community, but we never did anything to empower some of these men and boys as they are moving up the ladder. And so, like I said, being a therapist, being a teacher, I'm not doing it. I'm not saving nobody. I'm going to save myself. I'm going to focus on me. I help the ones that want to be helped, but I'm not going to burn myself out in the process trying to save a community. They have not been conditioned to value and honor and respect men on a consistent level. I'm just not going to do it. My prices are too high now. I used to do all that altruism and good guy stuff, but it don't get you up a heartache and frustration. And many times at the end of the day, they're going to continue to do what they want to do anyway. They're not going to change their bad behavior or their negative behavior. So that's why I'm telling you guys to do what's best for y'all. I'm going to show you guys something. And once again, guys, hit the like button and donate the Coach Cash App $7 Smalls. Go check out the Coach Clinician. But once again, did the Lord tell Deion Sanders, guys, that it's time to go? Did Deion Sanders use Jackson State as a stepping stone, like many coaches do? And what can we learn from this this latest trending topic with Deion Sanders and also Jackson State? Hold tight. Let's play this little clip that I played earlier, guys. And hold tight. We're going to break it down. Hold tight. Did Deion Sanders use reverse psychology to go to PWI Colorado? Why are so many men angry and frustrated with Deion Sanders' decision to uproot himself and go to the University of Colorado? Did Deion Sanders abandon the black community? Is the black community projecting some, not all, because of the lack of fathers and fatherlessness, and because of that, their anger has been more or less taken to another level? Why is it that we expect so much from our men when they do come in a spirit of servitude, but yet don't facilitate the proper outcomes that could have kept Deion Sanders at Jackson State? What say you? Be well.
I know y'all been hearing the rumors and everything that's been transpiring around about my whereabouts and what I'm going to do. And I like for y'all to hear it from me and not from anyone else. It is what it is. Either in coaching, you get elevated or you get terminated. Ain't no other way. You either elevated or terminated. And it ain't no graveyard for coaches where they die at the place. It don't work like that. They either gonna run you off or you gonna walk off upon your own recognizance. I've chosen to accept the job elsewhere next year. I'm gonna finish what we started. We're gonna dominate. I'm gonna be here to that end and that conclusion. And then when that conclusion, we will move on. Yeah, definitely. The report is true. They're not the only ones. The report is true. I'm not going to sit on here and tell all my business, but they're not the only ones. And I would be a liar if I told you they didn't. You know they did. I know they did. Everybody there know they did. So it is what it is. That's not my focus right now. My focus is to win and to be dominant, and then to not even to go on to the Celebration Bowl. My focus is right here in this beloved stadium to be dominant on Saturday. That's my focus. And I keeps the main thing. And everyone that knows me knows
looking at the show, let me know what city, what state you're coming in from. If you're outside of the U.S., let me know what country you represent.
All right, guys, so y'all heard from it. Deion Sanders is going to the University of Colorado, Buffalo, a very proud program back in the past that's fallen on some hard times. And he's going to try to take that program to the next level. And I think Deion has the potential to do good. I think he's going to be an excellent recruiter. I think he's going to get the McDonald's All-Americans or the 5-star, 4-star recruits. The only thing that can hurt him is that so many are, with the new portal system, they can leave, come, and go. But I think Deion Sanders is doing the right thing. Shout out to my man, Dr. Ron Neal. He said that every black man should move like Deion Sanders. The Eddie Robin days are over, and I totally agree, Doc. It gets to a point in your life, guys, you got to do what's best for you. Even just say if Deion did use Jackson State as a stepping stone, I mean, you know, coaches do it all the time. White coaches do it all the time. They'll leave white universities of lesser standing to move forward. And I understand their situations are different than ours. But you can't expect a man to say and just give altruism. And then there's reports that Deion Sanders actually gave some of his own money. But guys, just a fair use. Willie D gives his point and his take on Deion Sanders leaving. What do you guys think about it? Tell me what you think. Hold tight.
But there was equally people that was disappointed in his decision to part ways with Jackson State, an historical black college, a university, to move towards a predominantly white institution, a PWI. I want to start off by showing you guys something. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I want to show you something. So this is a picture of the Jackson State Tigers under Deion's leadership. When Deion went to JSU, you know, he was big on leading these black kids to not just to victory, but to not just victory on the football field, but victory in life. And he was a mentor to these kids. They looked up to him, they revered him, I would even say.
And listen, guys, all of that is good. And trust and believe all of that is good and dandy. But I'm going to argue that it's not Deion Sanders' responsibility to be father figures in these boys' lives. Let me tell you guys something. It's a therapist that used to happen to me when I taught school. They always say, I used to hear some of the women say, they always would say, we want a father figure. Or they would say, we need a man figure. And that's not my responsibility. That's your father's or the men in your family responsibility to raise these boys. I'm just a supplement to help assist these young men into their masculinity. But it should never fall on one man to do the job, because you can raise boys and teach boys all you want to. I've seen it happen many times. But if the value system is not consistent with what you're trying to teach those boys in the home, once they get from under your tutelage, they go right back to the same behavior unless they believe in you and they can be resilient outside of their own environment. But many go right back to the same behaviors, doing the same things over and over and over again. And I see where Willie D's coming from in part, but it's a business, man. And Deion don't really need the money, because somebody said I was paying the coaches with his own money. Deion is even more rich now by going to Jackson State. Hold tight.
Deion made it all about these black boys, right? And not only did they buy into it, Jackson State bought into it, the fans bought into it. Pretty much everybody bought into it. The fans that were at Jackson State and beyond. Well, when Deion made his decision to leave Jackson State to coach at the University of Colorado, a lot of people was questioning his intent from the jump, because he said it was all about these black boys. So this is what the picture was like when Deion was at Jackson State. That's the picture of Colorado. That's what the boys look like at Colorado. That's a good representation of what he's going to be, or who he's going to be coaching when he gets to Colorado. Now, of course, he's going to bring a few recruits with him, black recruits with him, but for the most part, this move is as clear as black and white. Now, before I go any further, let me say this, fam. Deion Sanders, in my opinion, has always been a stand-up guy. I've always admired Deion. I like what he did. I love what he did throughout his whole career. He always was that dude. Deion is a man's man, you know, like a solid dude.
And I get it, guys. When you're not used to seeing a strong, masculine man like Deion Sanders, then some people actually crumble. If you're a Gen Xer like myself, Dr. Neil, and a few other guys that are listening, we remember a time where you saw more men like Deion Sanders, but you don't see him as much now like you used to see him in the past. And that's the problem. But the problem is when you get men like Deion Sanders, they expect Deion Sanders to be all things to all men. And some would say that can actually leave that person broken and damaged because you put all your energy and try to redeem people to the point that you lose yourself in the process. And trust and believe, if Deion Sanders had stopped winning at Jackson State, at some point they would have got rid of him. Coaching is a business. If you're winning, they love you to death. If you're not winning, they'll get rid of you, won't think nothing of it. So, you know, I can see the anger and the angst on all ends. But in the meantime, guys, get the likes up. Once again, donate to the channel. And let's finish having the conversation. Hold tight.
He's a family man. He's involved in the, Deion is that dude. So
shout out to my man Top Gun for that $20 hitter as he's the #1 sponsor of this stream. He said, salute to one of the finest men to make it out of the Gunshine State. He said Gunshine. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Do what's best for you. It's deeper than Jackson State with the hatred of men doing that, no doubt, man. And I appreciate that, Top Gun. And Top Gun, because you always show me love and support, man. You know, one of the few brothers. Top Gun, you are the #1 sponsor of this stream, man. I really appreciate it, Top Gun. And thank you to the other brothers as well. Thank you. Appreciate it, Top Gun, and I agree with you 1,000%. It becomes a time when men got to do what's best for them. And at the end of the day, you got to be the one that's going to carry the burden and many times become thankless, all in an attempt to save a community that never really gave anything to black men in general when we were on our ascension.
And let me say this. I remember Pimp C used to call me from time to time and ask me about his contracts. Hey, Willie D, what you think I ought to do, man? And I told him invariably, do what's best for you and your family. So I'm gonna keep that same energy. I think that Deion did what was best for him and his family. But when it comes to his extended family, Black society, I don't think that was the right move. You see, fam, it's very, very disappointing the time we get someone or something that is great, find a way to lure it away from us. Intrinsically, killing hope and further progress. This happens all the time. Now, I just don't think that we'll ever get there if every time we get something great, we give it away or we sell it away.
So the question remains, that Deion Sanders give it away or sell it away, or did Deion Sanders have an opportunity to go somewhere better and get the best outcomes? Once again, it's a business. It's a business. I don't think Deion Sanders sold it away or more or less gave it away. But he would be a fool to stay in a school with inadequate facilities and do altruism for $300,000. It would be something. It would have to be something more redeeming that would want to keep me at that facility. There were some that were arguing, or more or less saying that there were condom wrappers all around the school's campus. Even though Jackson State sells out every game, they said that the facilities was dilapidated. They had an issue with water. And how can you run a top 10 program like that? Deion Sanders, let's say if he did use Jackson State also used him. And Jackson State, Deion left that school in a better place than when he started at Jackson State. HBCUs have some good points. There's some good with HBCUs because, as I said earlier, they try to cultivate their students. They want to see their students do well. I think I would say that HBCUs have prepared a lot of black students to go to PWIs because they understand the importance of competition. But once again, a lot of our own people don't give back to our own schools. Our endowments are low compared to other schools, and we don't take the art of giving as serious. Some will argue we blow money in silly stuff, but to the alum that go back to those schools, we don't give those schools or support those schools at the levels that we should. So you can't expect Deion Sanders to use his talents and to give his talents to stay in a situation like that. Dr. Neal said he think Willie D is wrong. We'll look into it. Hold tight.
Let me tell you something, fam. I don't trust the University of Colorado. I don't trust none of those institutions outside of HBCU. I don't even trust a lot of the HBCUs, to be frank with you. But I'm just saying, like, I know their play for real. Like, I don't even have to guess. I know exactly what they be thinking. Their goal is always to take our best away from us so that they can't help us. I say it all the time. One of the biggest problems in our community and in Black society is not the uneducated Blacks. It is the ones who have got out there and made it, that know what's going on, that don't reach back and help. Now, that ain't the situation with Deion entirely, because he did go back and he did help. He put 3 years in. Some people say, well, that's not long enough. Well, that's 3 years of your life. If he lived to be 300, that's 3% of his life. So he gave a great deal to Jackson State University. He made some sacrifices that we don't even know about. He went through some things at Jackson State that we don't even know about. Like, we don't even know the half of the struggles he had at that school.
That's true.
Just simply trying to get the kids better equipment, a better workout facility. You know, these are things that are a gimme at these bigger universities. When you look at Colorado, the University of Colorado has a $5.1 billion endowment. $5.1 billion.
And that's the problem, guys. You can't expect excellence when you don't value excellence. Shout out to my man, Top Gun. Once again, Top Gun said that Willie D acknowledged how Eddie Robinson Jr., a fellow black man, refused to shake his hand and blatantly said that Coach Prime ain't swag. Oh, wow. I didn't know that, man. I appreciate it, man. I didn't know that Eddie Robinson said that, man. That's something new. I didn't know that, man. That's wow. Wow. I didn't know that, man. I didn't know he didn't say he ain't SWAT. Well, if he ain't SWAT, that's fine. But Deion Sanders is going to be in a better position. Like I said, guys, there's so many variables that happen in this particular story. I'd love to hear some of you guys' point of view. I'm not going to be with you guys long because I got to get back to work in a minute, but I wanted to do this stream. It's been on my mind. But Juan said, disrespecting Coach Prime, he got robbed and his son got robbed on campus. See, right. And so that's my point, guys. These guys are giving me some good points. I didn't even know he got robbed. But you want black, see, that's why when people tell you to go back to the black community and go serve your community and all this BS, you would be a fool too. You can serve in part, but you can't serve in whole. You can't go back to a community that might either rob you or kill you. For the brothers that are listening, that are educated men, the hard-working blue-collar brothers that got money and status, you would be a fool to go back into a damn community that don't respect and honor tradition and men. The difference when our people were poor in the past, they had an abiding respect and love for community, faith, and family. They don't have no abiding love for community, faith, and family anymore. The current kids, the current bunch of men that are being raised, they're not raised to honor and respect community because they're being raised by hyenas. A lot of these young men are being raised by hyenas. It's hyena culture. And see, the problem with hyena culture, guys, when you go back to some of these dilapidated communities where these boys have not been taught to honor and respect men, this is what's going to happen. You will have guys like Raekwon and Man and Day, they'll rob you, stand you up, and then when you don't get what you want, or they don't get what they want, they'll take your life. Or when you challenge them, many times, they'll say this.
Yeah, put chain on them. Balls on my mom. They be broken balls. Kill some of my mom. They back me look like gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my.
Raekwon and Day will say that's on my mama. And see, that's what happens when you have generations that are devoid of black men, black leadership, and black excellence. That's why when people are proponents for saving the black community, they don't understand how systems works and how generations work. We were poor in the past, but we were better because we had faith, family, community, and all those things were coalescing together. Shout out to my man Shocks 112, another fellow clinician, man, always showing love, man, for that $20 hitter. Thank you, brother Shocks. And that's a deal, right? I appreciate it, brother Shocks, for the love, man, and the information that you gave me as well. I appreciate it, brother. Another fellow clinician, a brother that I love and respect. And we're trying to do the thing, man, because I'm a strong, firm advocate that men should do what's best for them. As I said before, in the past, I used to do a lot of altruism. I did 7 years Department of Juvenile Justice. Many of the guys that went in those institutions, they ended up in prison. I taught school for 5 years, put my neck on the line, trying to quote unquote save black boys. So I've done the service, but many times it's a thankless job, it's a stressful job, and many times the ones you try to help, they end up turning on you. But hold tight, guys.
Guess how much Jackson State's endowment is? 60 million. Just shy, just north of 1% of the University of Colorado's entire endowment. Man, the debt is stacked. But the debt ain't gonna never not be stacked if we keep giving all of our best talent away. We keep selling every time we build an industry. We sell it. You know, BET wasn't the greatest network, but it was ours. We could do what we wanted to do with it. And at least we had some control. When dude sold BET, it was over. I haven't even watched BET since. I don't watch it at all. The network is totally compromised. And that's what happens. They gonna come in, they buy us out, and then they switch it up. I suspect that Deion, at the maximum, is gonna be at the University of Colorado 3 to 5 years, and it's gonna be over. It's gonna be a wrap. Maybe he'll get a job at a pro, and make no mistake, Deion Sanders can coach a pro team.
The good thing with Deion is this: Deion Sanders did come back and serve at HBCU. Now, once again, the critics will say that no one else offered him a job. Now, Ed McCaffrey went to Northern Colorado University, And he did nowhere near as good as Deion Sanders did. And they got rid of him. And so if Deion Sanders was not performing, they would have got rid of Deion Sanders at the University of Jackson State University. And that's just how it goes. It's a business. And those days of trying to be overly altruistic, it's not beneficial to a man's psyche, mind, soul, body, and spirit. Hold tight.
But I do believe they're just bringing him in to take him out of the HBCU, to take him out of that industry, to take him out, to take him away from the HBCUs, so he can't help them, so he can't help the HBCUs grow. Because remember, fam, before all of these predominantly white institutions were having black players come in there and dominate, they wouldn't allow black players to play for them. And many of them were very, very mediocre until they started recruiting black players. And prior to that, the HBCUs ran football, dominated everything, ran it. And once these PWIs said, okay, we're gonna allow y'all to come play with us, I'll come over here and play. Boom, you got a mass exodus. And then HBCU was all downhill from there. Now I know you shouldn't put all of this on at the athletics department, because there are colleges out there, there's universities out there that has no sports, little or no sports, and they got bigger endowments than Jackson State has and many of the other HBCUs. So that's a point that needs to be made. But these athletes bring in a lot of money for colleges. A great program can bring in just an unheard of amount of money. And Deion was on that trajectory. He had set that trajectory to where he could have just continued to do all kinds of amazing things. He turned that program around like that. 27-5 record in 3 years. The last year, this year right here, undefeated, 12-0. Man, that's a oh, he did that. He did that. The dude is something special. The dude is something special. Deion Sanders is something special. So again, fam, we don't know what he was up against behind closed doors. I do know that from what he said, he was very transparent about how he had to fight every step of the way to put butts in seats, to have some respect from the NCAA, to get those kids equipment, get them proper transportation, and all of.
And it was so bad, guys, when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State, that many times the meal and nutrition plan was subpar. So you know, as a licensed therapist, we talk about risk factors and protective factors. Good environments, good nutrition, good neighborhoods, good schools. Those are all the things that can help a child or a person thrive in a chaotic community. But why should Deion Sanders, a Hall of Famer that played baseball and football, continue to put himself in a condition where he's stressed out and mentally distressed over and over again? Once again, they always want something from black men, sadly, when it benefits them. But where were the sisters at when they were trying to get some of the things needed to keep Jackson State afloat? Keep listening.
These days, proper meals. This is a fight, an uphill battle the entire way. I heard Deion say that he know God and God called him to make that move. You know, like he know this is the way to go. You know, like he said something to the effect that in college, you know, as a college coach, you either get terminated or you leave. You get terminated or you leave. Okay. He was a college coach, so I guess he knows more than me, but I think another alternative is to stay and duke it out. Now, I'm not in his shoes, so it's hard for me to judge that. But I just know that I would have wanted to see. I would have loved to see if he did that in 3 years, not if, but he did what he did in 3 years. Imagine what he could have done in 6 years. This is what I say. Some people saying, you know.
But once again, people don't, Willie D doesn't understand that Deion Sanders was struggling as a whole to get Jackson State up to the state or the level they need to be got up to. It's like you're talking from two sides of your mouth. 1 minute you say stay, but then 1 minute you say you don't understand what he was going through. Me being a licensed therapist myself, I would say that many times it's hard to get the same level of respect, and you got to fight twice as hard. When you get 55 in your 50s, you just don't have the energy to keep fighting, man. You fight, but you want to fight within reason, and you want to fight smart. But, you know, constantly trying to fight, constantly trying to build, and then being robbed on your school campus by the people that say they love and respect you as a man, what kind of nonsense is that? That's why I said that my skin folk are not always my kinfolk. And I'm not saying that Deion Sanders didn't have ulterior motives. I'm not going to say that. But at the same time, I don't blame Deion Sanders for moving forward as well. Because once again, Deion Sanders, in my opinion, helped Jackson State more than Jackson State helped him, in my opinion. Because they got a Hall of Fame coach to go there. Even though some will argue he didn't have no other choice, but still I think he gave more in spite of all the foolishness. Hold tight.
Deion is living in his purpose. Deion believes that his purpose is to pursue greater pastures and just keep climbing or whatever, you know, up the ladder. I guess he probably wants to be a head coach in, you know, in the pros or whatever, but he feels like, you know, that's his, he's a journeyman, you know, that's his role, like to pursue greatness, you know, in other regions, you know, to keep it moving. That's his journey. That's his purpose, or at least part of his purpose. And he's gonna no doubt do some great things at Colorado because the dude just got it. He's that type of dude. But when you look at impact, the impact he has on Colorado is not going to be anywhere close to the impact he had on Jackson State University. Even if he goes to the NFL, the impact he has on the NFL as a coach will be nowhere near the legendary impact that he had on Jackson State University and that he would have continued to have on HBCUs across the nation. This dude damn near just single-handedly almost, I mean, you know, you're only as good as your team, but so I got to be careful with saying that. But, you know, he was a great part of turning HBCUs around. So to me, when I start looking at legacy, I'm just going to say, I ain't going to say what he ought to be doing. I'll say what I know how I think. So I'll just say just the way I think. They was giving him some of the things that he wanted. In fact, they gave him a lot more than they'd ever given any other coach. They was putting butts in the seats.
And rightfully so, they should have gave him more. Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. But you say that they were putting folks in the seat. Well, that might be true as well. But I'm sure Deion Sanders helped put butts in the seat as well. I'm sure Jackson State got a great fan base. But at the same time, I'm sure they both played a role in putting fans in that seat. But then that goes back to say as well, if Deion Sanders or Jackson State was putting butts in their seats, then why did they have better facilities? Why did Deion Sanders had to come there, pay his own coaches out of his own pocket, and also pay to get water, transportation? They have nicer dorm rooms for the athletes. If they were putting butts in their seats before Deion came, that lets me know that Jackson State sadly didn't value their own institution as much as well. They didn't value their own institution as much. Because if you really valued your institution, you would use some of that money to improve the facilities for your athletes. You can't talk from two sides of your mouth, man. You know, so tell me what you guys think. Hold tight.
the meal program had gotten better. Transportation was better. A lot of things were better, and they was happening fast. Deion's impact was infectious. It was contagious. He could have, if he had stayed, Jackson State was only going to get better, and it would have spread it across other universities, I do believe, because Deion was fighting for the entire program, not just Jackson State. In order for Jackson State to reach its greatness, to be as great as full potential, then the entire conference had to be great. And Deion was working toward that. And his star power opened doors that other coaches just ain't going to be able to open. I don't care who he names as his successor or recommends as his successor. They're not going to be able to open those doors that Deion was able to open. People are not going to be as fired up. This is like having blowing up.
Shout out to my man James Turner for that $10 super sticker. He said that. Is Willie D saying that Deion Sanders should have stayed stagnant? That's not God's plan or provision for anyone. I hope and pray that Deion has trained someone with the same drive as himself to take over Jackson State, and that's a deal, right? And I think he is. I think he definitely is.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I don't know if that school will ever have the same level of star acclaim as they had when Deion Sanders is there. I understand the different points of views. I want to hear the different points of views. Pioneer Negus TV got some good points. Top Gun got some good points. And I'm going to drop the link in the feed. I want to hear you guys' points of view. I think all y'all guys got some good points of view. So, but I want you guys to keep listening to it and tell me what you guys think. Hold tight.
Up a balloon and somebody coming and just sticking a pin in it after you and you get the balloon and it's looking beautiful. You like, yeah, you proud of yourself. Somebody just boom, hit a stick, hit it with a stick pin. That's what that's like to me. Again, fam, I don't know what he was up against behind closed doors. And he has to do his best to get there if we keep selling. If we keep selling, every time we get something great, we sell it. We're never going to get that. And keep in mind, fam, that's how they've been able to control the narrative in the first place. We don't own nothing. And we give up our greatest. Our greatest always goes to work for somebody else. Our best. They pluck our best, not simply because they're our best, but because they don't want our best to help us.
My man Willie Dean said that Deion can make a greater change and impact for blacks at the PWI than at HBCUs. I can see that argument too as well, Willie Dean, because if he gets to a PWI and kill the game, actually he could have more black athletes celebrating and going to, even though Colorado is a PWI, but also he can break the stigma that black coaches are inferior and black coaches are inadequate. All of you guys got some good points. Top Gun got some good points. Pioneer Nuggets TV, he got some good points. I want to hear all you guys' points of views. But those are all good talking points, man. Those are all good talking points because as Deion Sanders can continue to climb through the ranks, Deion Sanders can add a lot of value if he goes to historically or PWIs and destroy the game, but also dispel the myths that black coaches can't compete at an elite level. Deion Sanders dominated the HBCUs. Can he do the same thing at a PWI? I think he can because he is an excellent recruiter. And he's an excellent coach. He got the charisma and swag to do what he needs to do. I think he's going to take Colorado to another level. And after that, I think he's going to the NFL, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. Shout out to my man, Prodigal Son, for the 10. He said, I'm happy for Deion Sanders because even in scripture in Ecclesiastes 3:18, he said there's a time and a season for everything. No doubt, I respect that. He said, I honestly believe it was his time and season to move on. I respect that 1,000%, brother. I appreciate it, man. That's a deal, right? Thank you, Prodigal Son. You're right, sir.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
And
Got 5 on it.
I'm not mad at him, to say the least, man. I'm not mad at him, to say the least, because at the end of the day, you can't keep giving your all and giving your all. As you get older, you just don't have the energy to be stressed out. And this brother had to use a lot of his money and time to help build the facilities at Jackson State, even though they had already had a good fan base. I don't know if that would have been beneficial long term for Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. Jackson State didn't get no average guy. They got a Hall of Famer. And then also Travis Hunter, some could argue, then why don't Travis Hunter stay? But Travis Hunter is not staying. Travis Hunter is going to Colorado with Deion Sanders. Jamel from around the world said that Coach Prime donated $100,000 his salary to complete the football facility. Right, he gave back. That's a good point, man. Facility, imaging, going to work, and giving a third of his salary back. Right, that's an excellent point, Jamal, around the world. Right, he gave back. Not only did he give back his time and also make Jackson State 11-0, you got folks still bitching, complaining, even though Deion Sanders gave Jackson State a lot more than Jackson State, in my opinion, gave Deion Sanders. And even if he did have ulterior motives, I still feel that he did a lot more for Jackson State in the end.
That's why. That's what I suspect. That's why I suspect, even more so than Deion going to help Colorado, I think they wanted Deion to take Deion away from Jackson State so he could not help HBCUs. But what say you, fam? Going into the comments. Michael Mahone, what up? Can't touch this. To shine a national spotlight on little old Jackson, Mississippi. I don't care what team he go to, what college he go to, what PWI he go to, what pro team he go to. It ain't gonna have that type of long-lasting legacy impact.
But what Willie D don't understand, Willie D, like so many, live in nostalgia. It would be one thing for this. I can agree with what Willie D is saying, that we had an intact black community where the fathers and the men are leading, the women honor and respect the men, and the children are in alliance. I would agree with Willie D if we were living in the past, but we're not living in the past. The world is radically different now. And sometimes people like Willie D get caught up in nostalgia instead of seeing the world for what it is. There is no black community. There is no black community. It's been going for years. There's really no white community as well. There is no white community. The American fabric, the American community is messed up. And so you just want Deion Sanders to give his best years. And I get it in theory, but I like what someone else said, that I think Deion can have a greater impact for black coaches at a higher tier than he can at HBCUs. Because what Deion Sanders will have been doing is just replicating greatness over and over and over again in the lower tier conference in the SWAC. But how's that changing the conversation about getting more black coaches in collegiate sports? How's that changing the conversation?
To turn HBCUs around, that Deion did in 3 years what many people, like all these HBCUs combined, ain't been able to do in the last 50 years. Man, do you understand the impact of that? He's irreplaceable. I don't think that the foundation is solid enough for him to leave and go somewhere else. I don't think that everything, the structure is there yet. It ain't solid enough. The TV deals ain't there. And then I'll take it further than that, fam. You know, a lot of these people with a lot of these brands, that these advertisers, they be in cahoots with these PWIs, and all of them will be like, look, we're going to hold our nuts on that TV deal, because if we give them that TV deal, that's going to shine a spotlight on these HBCUs, and we don't want that. We got to maintain control by any means necessary. I think they were all in cahoots, fam.
Shout out to my man Jay Perry for the love. Jay Perry said that let's not forget Jackson, Mississippi as a city has unsanitary water, and then replace that 100-year-old facility. That's an excellent point. And that goes back to values. How can you be living in modern times in a first world country and have unsanitary water conditions? You can fill up Jackson State and fill up the facilities at Jackson State, but you can't use that money to come together to improve the water condition in the facility. Guys, it's the value system. You can't talk from two sides of your mouth. You can't have an in-par or subpar value system, but then get mad at Deion Sanders for doing what's best for him. I appreciate that Jay Perry's been a minute, brother. Thank you, sir. That's a deal, right? I appreciate it, bro.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Got 5 on it.
I really do. I think it's a conspiracy. I do not think that overall this is going to be good for Deion or Black society. Overall, you look at Deion's impact, had he stayed in this system versus going into that other system, I don't think his impact is going to be as great. All of those recruits are not going to follow him to Colorado because they all can't make the team anyway. You feel me? What's up, Melvin Jacobs? Cynthia Banks Holman, what up? Yeah, if he don't win in Colorado, and trust me, fam, that's another thing. If he don't win in Colorado, boy, that hammer gonna come down so quick.
Shout out to my man Top Gun for that 5. Top Gun said that at Pioneer Negatives TV for non-clinical diagnostic concept, man. You funny, man. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, Top Gun, for showing so much love, man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir.
The hammer coming down. They're going to put so much pressure on him. Them white folks in Colorado see all kind of racist stuff come out of them. You're going to see it. I promise you're going to see it. He's going to be dealing with that racist stuff every day. That's standing up. And I'm going to tell you something else, fam. In this society that we live in this American society, this United States society that we live in, there's a segment of the population that do not like Black men who stand on something, who stand for something, who stand 10 toes down, who speak their mind. He ain't gonna be able to do that in Colorado like he did in Jackson State. People in Jackson State, those kids.
I don't know, Willie D. I think he can say what he wants to say. Deion Sanders is going to be Deion Sanders. I don't think you can shut Deion up. If they fire Deion, so what? Deion Sanders is already rich. He got more power than a lot of folks. So I don't think they're going to shut Deion Sanders up. They're not going to shut him up. They're not going to shut him up. And guys, also I got breaking news here in the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel state. We talking about Deion Sanders going abroad, but they've and it's in national news now. They have actually been trying to attack the power grids here in North Carolina. We talking about a Black community, but this world is under chaos. And even in my state, the power grids have been attacked. And I'm gonna show you guys that in a minute as we're talking about Deion Sanders going abroad. But more pressing and more germane news, the power grids here in the state of North Carolina has been under attack. Can you imagine if the power grids go down? Can you imagine a world where you don't have any lights, you don't have any food? And we're talking about Deion Sanders, but there's something more pressing if they shut these power grids down based on international attacks. And this is something that a lot of folks are not talking about, but I might even do a show on it because it's important. Hold tight.
It's understood. The staff understood, the administration understood, the people that live there understood, the people that support Jackson State University, they understood Deion, the way he talked, the way he stand up, the way he speaks. They understood that. And they embraced it because they know it works. The people in Colorado, when they hear Deion talking the way he talk, they're gonna be like, we got to put that in check. I promise you, fam, it's coming. It's coming. They're going to turn on him so fast, boom, just like that. Let them go on some type of losing streak or something like that. Watch what happens. Watch what happens if he...
Shout out to my man, Dr. Neal, as he's in the greatest state of the union, the Tar Heel state like myself. Dr. Neal said that coaching jobs for black men at Division I level do not grow on trees. He's right. The window of opportunity is narrow. Deion made smart moves, no doubt. I agree with that 100%, 1,000%. And that's a deal, right, Dr. Neal? I totally agree with you.
That's a deal, right?
1,000%. The window of opportunity is slim. And Jamal from around the world said that he said that the transfer portal, and the word is that 200 recruits and transfers have reached out to Colorado. And that's my point. I like what Deion is doing in a way, guys, if you look at it at the national level, because for so long, you got big names like Nick Saban and some of these well-known white coaches. They've never really respected and honored black coaches. Deion Sanders made headways when he got this guy, Travis Hunter, to decommit from Florida State and go to Jackson State. That was big for HBCUs. But once again, guys, we don't live in nostalgia no more. The world is different. As I said earlier, there's an attack on the power grids here in North Carolina. Breaking news, my wife just told me about it. So it's a different world now. The world is radically different. And living in nostalgia is not going to change things. That's why a lot of times, the slow taps, and some of these pro-blacks, they see things through the lens of blackness alone, but there are too many consistent variables that are saying that what we once had or what we thought we once had is never going to come back again into fruition, and that's a problem. That's a problem. So I'm not mad at Deion for going abroad. I think Deion could do more at a PWI and change the conversation by having more black coaches to get into the game. I would love to see Deion Sanders go to Colorado and dominate and beat the Nick Sabans and the LSUs of the world and the Georgias as a black coach. He can do a lot more damage, in my opinion, at a PWI. But I do understand the concern and the pain of some of the ones that feel like he abandoned Jackson State. But it's a conversation to be had, to say the least. Hold tight, no power grid problems there, man. Yeah, in Moore County, James, I'll show it to you. Colorado get a 5-star recruit, to commit yesterday. Right, that's all of the strength of Deion Sanders, right. James Turner said at the coaching that the coaching that's just your new... There are 8 steps to being the optimal male to do YouTube equipment.
Gets accused of anything inappropriate. Watch what happens. They're going to turn on him just like that. So it's a different vibe. It's a whole entire different vibe going over there coaching Colorado. It ain't gonna be like a family affair. It ain't gonna be like family. He gonna be under a microscope. He gonna have that. They're gonna have that pressure on him. Yeah. It's gonna be a full press the entire time. Keep in mind, fam, like I said, it's a certain segment of the population they cannot stand.
Yeah, and guys, enough of Willie D. I think you guys get the drill. We'll drop the link at some point and talk about it. But this is more pressing, in my opinion. This is more pressing, in my opinion. Hold tight. Let me see if I can. All right. Let's see if I can find this story. All right, so anyway, you guys see it. They said targeted North Carolina powers could leave thousands in the dark for days. A curfew was declared and schools were closed. The FBI and state authorities joined the investigation into the gun attacks on 2 energy substations in Moore County. And if you guys don't know, Moore County is west of Wake County, where I live at, in the capital. And they said it was an international attack on the power grid. And once again, can you guys imagine a world when the power grids are shut down? I don't think anyone can fathom that. According to officials, these officials on Sunday cautioned that residents of Moore County, North Carolina, to prepare for days without electricity after a targeted attack on substations left 45,000 customers in the dark. And I know, guys, this is a segue of a conversation, but someone gave me this breaking news. Moore County Sheriff Ronnie Fields said a suspect or suspects drove up to 2 Duke Power substations Saturday night, breaching a gate in one case and opened the fire, disabling them and resulting in blackouts for tens of thousands throughout Thursday. As of Monday, over 35,000 customers remain without power, according to Power Outage USA.us. The substation are located in the west end of Carthage, North Carolina, about 5 miles away from other people, according to the Major Andy Conway with the Moore County Sheriff. Customers were without power in 2 counties. And just like there's the power grids are down in some parts here in North Carolina, imagine if North Carolina or the United States get hit with a terrorist attack when they can knock things off grid. And so, like I said, guys, that's a lot more pressing than Deion Sanders right now. Hold tight. Let me see if I can open this up for you guys. Hold on. This is all in the national news. So this is all in the national news. Hold tight. If I can open this thing up. After this commercial plays. But yeah, in a statement, FBI Charlotte Fields say he's confirmed its involvement with the investigation and called the attacks on the substation willful damage. And that's the world that we live in, when people are attacking substations. Hold on for a minute. I don't know why you can't hear it.
We're very united here in Moore County, and we're not going to let this hold us back. And I can promise you to the perpetrators out there, we will fight through this and we'll get through it together. Moore County is very strong. We're very united here in Moore County, and we're not going to let this hold us back. And I can promise you to the perpetrators out there, we will fight. On Saturday evening, December the 3rd, shortly after 7 p.m., power outages began here in the Carthage area. Shortly thereafter, the outages would spread to the greater majority of central and southern Moore County. Upon the arrival of the power crews and our deputies, extensive damage was found at their substations. Evidence at the scene indicated that showed that the firearm had been used to disable the equipment. Our deputies, along with
and I thought it was like a national attack, but it's not national. It's here in the state of North Carolina. The power grid guys have been under attack, but also, like my man Top Gun gave me the clip, Willie D said that Deion Sanders is not swag. Shout out to my man Shocks. He said that I respect Willie D, but he sounds like a hurt-ass hoe. He's wishing this man get a scandal. Yeah, man, I think it's projection, guys. I think some of it's projection.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Got 5 on it.
Deion Sanders go over to greener pastures. It's internalized pain of their fathers abandoning them. And I think a lot of these guys is negative socialization, internalization of the fathers that left them in the past, and just more of the things to come. I'm shouting to my man Top Gun again. He said, Tion getting that passport, bro, reset. I was shouting to my man Top Gun. James Turner said at the coaching convention, all joking aside, I heard that the power, about this morning. Right. Right. You're right. But yeah, let me show you guys something. Shout out to Top Gun once again. He sent me this clip. And I knew about it. Actually, I didn't realize this is what it was. I was thinking of the elder Eddie Robinson. But let me pull this up real quick. So what do we say about Eddie Robinson Jr., him saying that Deion Sanders ain't swag? He did apologize, but what does that say? You talk about black unison, but at the same time, your own people, something that can be your greatest nemesis and your problem. Hold tight. Fair use.
I'm living on the shoulders of the swag. He ain't swag. I'm swag. He ain't swag. So he's in the conference and doing a great job. Can't knock that. Got a great team. But you're not going to come here and disrespect me and my team and my school and then want to bro hug. Shake my hand and get the hell on.
Wow. You guys saw that. He said he ain't swag. Wow.
Period. You got the W. Great job. I hope he comes back next year. I pray he don't get a Power 5 job so we can play them next year in Jackson. And I pray they put us for their damn home.
Wow. And so he did apologize, but what does that say about Eddie Robinson? You so caught up in your own emotions as a man, and you hating on Deion Sanders, saying that he's not swag. How does that solve the conversation? It more or less prove our point when you can't even have a healthy level of respect within your own so-called brothers that his dad was a legend at Grambling State. But you can't even show Deion Sanders the love that he deserves as another brother. I want to show you guys something else too, guys. Hold tight. I was on Obsidian show this morning. I'm going to get off in a minute. I got to go. But let me show you guys something. And we're going to break this down a little bit. As I was on the show this morning. Shout out to Sir Hill Speaks in Obsidian. We were talking about Deion Sanders.
Because Deion said, but check this out, Deion said that they have this system in college football now called the portal system. Right. And I heard him stand up there and give a speech to those players in Colorado, and he said, I'm coming and I'm bringing some people with me. His son is coming, and I wonder how many of those other guys, like the top recruit that he got, I wonder how many of them are already filling out their portal paperwork to transfer over to Colorado.
I think the exodus is well in hand. Chris Hutchinson in the building with this interesting comment. He says Prime has HBCUs playing live on TV. His job is done. Brandon in the building with this interesting comment.
That's true.
Deion Sanders also molded and mentored a lot of young black athletes, coaches, and men.
Right.
My man Zamani in the building. My man Zan, what's going on, brother? He says, as a community, we still have this savior complex where we expect one individual to come in and save us and sacrifice his own personal vision and mission for the idea.
And that's what I was talking about earlier, guys. It's something called compassion fatigue. They expect one black man to come back and save the community, which in essence means he sacrificed and sabotaged his own future, all for the collective consciousness of black folks. And I used to do it. I did it for years, but I can't do it at this point in my life because it got to be a greater return on my investment. I did it for years. I mentored for years. I taught school for 5 years. I worked in law enforcement with youth for 7 years. Can't do it again, man. It's not worth it. It's very stressful. And so I can partly identify with Deion Sanders at some points. But I also can see the points where some might say that he should have stayed a little longer, but I don't think Deion should have lived maybe another year at the max, but no longer than that.
Of collectivity. He follows us up with this comment. Instead of focusing on what he came to do and accomplish, we're sitting on the sideline and browbeating him instead of figuring out how to continue what he started. Your response to that?
Well, I think that we shouldn't browbeat him, but check this out. Deion has already left the blueprint at Jackson State. What he has done there speaks for itself. It's up to Jackson State and their administration to try to maintain what Deion has been able to create, and maybe whoever's been on that staff think about promoting from within those that were rubbed by Deion and know the Deion way to continue down that direction. It's on them to do so. Now, the only problem is, as I said before,
they don't really have the resources like a bigger school, but he did leave them a foundation. Okay. But I'm going to leave with this one here. I'm going to say it again, Obsidian. I do find it interesting that once he had a level of success there, and there was this talk about Deion being able to out-recruit the Nick Sabans of the world potentially because he could walk into their living rooms, and Deion can say things to young black players that the Nick Sabans of the world can't say.
Yeah.
Because he has that NFL cachet, and he can bring NFL players around to motivate, right? You got to be honest, Obsidian. You got to be honest and say today, this morning, some of these traditional white schools or coaches are very happy that Deion is not in the HBCU with the potential of him being able to perch away recruits that they might be able to get. We cannot deny that.
It is what it is.
Now,
you know, the guys, you're saying the guys at Howard and Hampton and and Bennett and all of them, they're saying, yeah, good. I'm glad he's out here.
But check this out, though. It might backfire on them because now he's at a bigger school with more.
Backfire on them. It's definitely going to backfire on them because if you go to Colorado and get all the top tier recruits, it's going to take money out of their pockets. And I would love to see him destroy Nick Saban and some of the other big name coaches in the NCAA with being able to recruit the elite of the elite athletes. I would love to see it. I would love seeing Deion Sanders at UNC, but I don't think that's going to ever happen. But he got the swag to definitely take things to the next level. He's old school, man. He got the charisma too. Hold tight.
More resources that can fly him in private jets to get to these youth. Yeah. So while they're happy that they might have perched him out of the black college leads, it might have backfired on them because Deion still has the same cachet to be able to perch away top recruits from these D1 schools, just as he did now he can do it on a higher level because he's got the facilities, he's got a bigger school, and he's got his cachet, of course. But he has a budget now, a bigger recruitment budget that they're going to give him. And he's already saying he's going to change a lot of stuff at Colorado. So, brother, I got to get off. I got to get my young one to school.
Okay,
but
man.
I thank you for letting. If you still happen to be on when I get back, because it don't take me that long. The school's not that far from here. I'll jump back on if your link is in the chat room.
No problem. Yeah. Definitely do that, man. Come on
All
back.
right. All right. Peace to you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
The information man, ladies and gentlemen, he came on up here, chop it up a little bit. We are in open forum, and we're talking about what else? The great Deion Sanders debate. What do you guys say about it? That's been the talk all weekend. I heard about it. Even my lady friend, the lovely Miss Brown Sugar, brought it. She was the first one to bring it to my attention over the weekend. A lot of debate, a lot of people weighing in. There are those who say that Deion has abandoned the community to work in the white man's football system, to get the white man's money, get the white man's bag. That's the argument on one side. The other side of the argument is Deion doesn't owe the black community anything. He has as much a right as any other black man to make his living by the sweat of his brow, by the strength of his back, and by the smartness of his brain and talent, and to do so to the highest bidder. That is the argument. Now, I want to bring in a little curveball here, especially because here on this channel we deal with black female fuckery. I want to bring in that angle here because while we have this debate over whether or not Deion did the right thing by leaving Jackson State and going to Colorado University, I just want to bring this to the point to the audience's attention. And that's this. Deion Sanders had to deal with black female fuckery too. That's right. Y'all remember when Deion was getting beat up? Y'all remember that? No, it's true. It's true. He was getting beat up by his own girlfriend or whatever. She was beating him up. You remember that? Oh man. So my question is this. I want to bring this to the discussion. And the link is in the chat room. Anybody wants to get on the air and chop it up, I want you to answer this. If Deion Sanders is getting beat up by a black woman, right, under his own roof, okay, if he's getting beat up by a black woman on his own roof, if he has to deal with BFF, what hope do us mere mortals have? You would think one person that would be immune from BFF would be Primetime. You would think he would be the one man. He said, okay, well, they ain't gonna give him a hard way to go. Deion Sanders, right? Yeah. She fit, feminine, friendly, submissive, and all the rest, right? Yet and still, oops upside your head. He's getting, kukui upside the head by a black woman. What are we supposed to make with that? What are we supposed to say about that? You remember that, right, Chris?
That's why I started laughing. I'm not going to comment on that whole situation because that's a little too wild for me to talk about. I ain't going to talk about that.
I mean, really. I mean, but and then you have, and I got to do it. I got to do it, Chris. You have a lady. You have a wife who is not black. Okay, she is of the Asian persuasion, if you will. Could we say that Deion might even be further in his career had he gone your route? And
I'm again. This is too. I'm not up here to talk about that type of stuff today. Okay, so I want to make that very clear. I am not talking about none of that stuff today. All right.
By the way, I got wind of a very interesting video by a lovely lady from the Philippines who directly addressed the Passport Brothers. I have reached out to her to see if she would be willing to come on the air live and discuss it, because that video is doing gangbusters. Now, last time I checked, upwards of 200,000 views. Yeah. So yeah, it's doing gangbusters. The Passport Bros have arrived. My man Pablo is on the air with us right now. What do you have to say about this video? If Deion would have gotten with the Filipina like that, would he have gone farther in his career?
I don't know, man. I wanted to speak on the Deion situation from the basis that I am an HBCU graduate.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Jackson State will be playing my alma mater next week in the Heritage Bowl. North Carolina Central University. So here's my take as an HBCU alumnus. So I do not begrudge Deion as the head coach leaving for a better opportunity, a better professional opportunity. I don't have a problem with that in the least bit. Here's where I have a problem. I have a problem in the manner and the way in which he left. And let me explain. There's a video of Deion and his son Shador, who is the quarterback at Jackson State.
Are you in the dryer, man?
So some feel like that Deion was flossing when he left. Some feel like that perhaps Deion should have left after the bowl season was over with. Some felt like he was flossing, which in essence infuriated some of the players at Jackson State. But we're gonna get into it. Hold tight.
No, I'm in a truck.
Okay, this it sounds like you're in a dryer or something. There's some crazy noise in the background there.
Okay, I turn the truck off. How's that?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a video of Deion and his son Shador, who is the starting quarterback at Jackson State.
Yeah.
Leaving after their SWAC championship game, getting on a jet and ferreting themselves out to Colorado.
Okay.
Soon as they hit the ground, Shador Sanders throws on the Colorado Buffaloes hat, the Colorado Buffaloes backpack, and he's roaming around the facility with the paraphernalia on of the competing school. Here's the problem. Shador Sanders is still a scholarship athlete at Jackson State with another football game to play.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can see that point. I agree with that as well. It's a way to do all things. It's decorum. You don't if you leave, you leave, but you still got another game to play. Jackson State is 12-0. So what do you think that's going to do to the psyche of the players? They're already dealing with the betrayal or feeling like a betrayal of you leaving. And once again, I'm not against Deion leaving and moving on, but I think they could have been a little bit more tactful about it. But I'm gonna drop the link in a minute, guys, and I want to hear you guys' perspective. Hold tight.
And if I am his teammates, I'm sorry, but I'm going to feel a way about that.
Right. Because
you have not.
They're going to rightly say you're not part of the team. You're abandoning us, and so on and so forth.
You're not finishing you're not finishing your commitment to us before you're already jumping in bed with someone else.
Right. They're going to accuse him of carpetbagger. He's just there to get the bag.
I don't have a problem with Deion doing that because he's under contract as the head coach, and coaches pick up and move, and they do that all the time. Like he just said, that's a part of the business part. But when you're a player or a student athlete, it's kind of like you haven't completed it's kind of like you're leaving your soldiers on the battlefield, and you're retreating to the front lines. Can you do it? I guess you can, but it's a bad optics. And the way that he was behaving when they were doing the award ceremony for Jackson State to receive the SWAC championship trophy, it was like he was being so impatient with them, setting up the podium and the tables and the everything so that they could present him with the trophy. He was being very, and there's video footage of this. He was being very childlike and I want to say impatient with them hurrying it along so he can get on his jet and go to Colorado.
This is the son you're
And
talking
so, no, Deion.
This is Deion himself.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Oh, there's footage of this on YouTube.
Oh boy.
And what it's doing to the HBCU alumni, the way we're reading it is, it's like that.
All right, so
Go
I
ahead,
think we
Chris.
have. Okay, so this is what I came to talk about. So people saying that Deion is abandoning Jackson State, or they're trying to use this as a larger social commentary. First of all, he came into a situation that was not thriving. It is in a good. He left it better than where he arrived.
I agree with that.
As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing else that he's obligated. He's not from Jackson. He did not go to Jackson. As far as I'm concerned, his services are complete. He has nothing. He does not owe them anything. Okay. So in terms of the larger context of, now there is a thing, so I'll admit this, there is a thing of why, could Deion and could the former NFL players, could they really decide to entrench themselves in the HBCUs and build those up to eventually maybe compete with the larger schools, especially because of the NIL and different things like that, because they can get money from other sources other than from directly the alumni base. Okay, there's an argument there, right? But the thing is, the fact of the matter is, why does Deion have to sacrifice a 20, 30-year coaching career because of some pie in the sky idea of what could come down the line? That's not how any group has ever operated. They acted in their own self-interest. In rising tides lift all boats. It's on job of the Jackson State administration to identify a coach who can continue what he started. Okay, it's the HBCUs are playing on live TV because of Deion Sanders. That was not the case 5-6 years ago. Okay, right. They're so it's on the SWAC and the other HBCU athletic conferences. They need to. I don't know if they need to bring in consultants. I don't know what they need to do. They need to figure out how to keep this momentum going, okay, and get the coaches, and B, convince some of these players who are 3 stars and high 2 stars that, do you want to ride the bench at a PWI, or you can come to a HBCU? That's all they need to do to turn the tide. In terms of that, they don't need to get the 5 and 4 stars, because there's only so many of those to go around. Most of these big, like even at the University of Michigan, I think some like half the roster is 3-star recruits. over half, even at the. So all you have to do is start talking about the kid who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, who has offers at Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech. He's had UNC, Chattanooga, and all these other places. He's not going. We're not talking about he has an offer at Bama or he has an offer at UGA. I'm talking about he has offers at schools like that. He doesn't need to go to Furman. Hey, how about you can go to Furman or you can go to Grambling. They need to convince those guys. That's all I'm saying in terms of that.
Well, so let me
get this in here. Mister says these are butthurt black folks that need to get help. He did the right thing for him and his family. He follows up by saying he did what he was hired to do. And I want to go to you, Pablo. But first, I want to thank my man Brandon in the building with the $100 cash app.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
And he says, you already know what it is. Indeed, I do. Thank you so much for that, my brother. Pablo, you want to say something? Right ahead.
So let me tell you where I agree with something that Deion said about his leaving and why. This is something that he said to the team when he had the team meeting to tell his players that he was leaving and why. He threw out a number of black head coaches at the FCS Division I level who had been fired. I believe the number was 6, 7 or something like that the previous year. And he said, do you know how many new job openings were replaced with black head coaches? He said 0. 0. So he said, if I don't go and take this opportunity, he said, what will happen to those guys who come behind me and want to get an opportunity? So from that standpoint, I'm with him 100%.
Yeah.
I found the optics of the way he departed a bit distasteful. That's all I'm saying. But his actual leaving and going to Colorado, I don't have a problem with. I just had a problem with the optics of some of the behaviors and things that went on while he was transitioning from Jackson State to Colorado. It wasn't very clean. It appeared to be messy.
Well, obviously, Colorado leaked it because this has been out there for like 3 weeks. He was headed there. This got leaked a long time ago, so it was kind of like, what there was nothing he was going to be able to do to transition out. This wasn't like when USC hired Lincoln Riley or last year, or when LSU hired Brian Kelly. And people are like, whoa, how did that happen? Right. This leaked out and was out. This has been out here since before this started being leaked around Veterans Day. So this has been out here for well over a month at this point. I mean, you can't. So he was not going to be able to leave cleanly.
But I want to get back to this. The Deion getting beat up by I think it was his wife. I want to get back to that. Let me bring in the coach clinician, because I know he's got something to say about. Would you agree with me, coach and clinician, that if somebody like Primetime can get beat up by a black woman, what hope do the rest of the brothers have? It sounds like to me that's a powerful argument for the Passport Bros. You got this lady, the Filipina P, weighing in on the debate. What do you have to say about all that, coach and clinician?
Well, it's a pleasure to be on Upset. I'm actually going to do a show on that at some point. Might even do it today. But it goes back, back to what Teddy Pendergrass said back in the 70s. The whole world laughing at me, silly fool. And that's what happens upsetting when we want something for nothing. I think I can look at it from a perspective. I can understand why some of the people are upset and mad that Deion Sanders decided to leave, and some said that he played them. But what I see here, in my opinion, is classic projection. They're projecting perhaps because of abandonment. They could be projecting because there's not enough black men or some of these boys didn't have fathers in their lives. But that's not Deion Sanders' responsibility. And I've been through what Deion has been through because there's a condition called compassion fatigue. You get so caught up in trying to help all black kids and all black communities to the point that you burn yourself out in the process. And some will argue that the AD at Jackson State had the opportunity of sitting to offer Deion $1 million. But prior to that, they didn't offer him the money. But when he was on his way out, they offered him $1 million.
Oh,
So, right. So it's almost like it's almost like taxation without representation. As a therapist, a lot of times they want you to give them a black pass. They want you to give them the black discount. But when I look at the comparison between
they want to hook up.
They want to hook up, right? When I look at the comparison between UNC Chapel Hill, that's where I got my master's from, and then North Carolina Central University. Now, Central is a good HBCU. There are pros and cons to it. The pros is when you go to a HBCU, you do have the family environment. Central is a good black school. It's up there with A&T. I think A&T is the biggest and probably some would say the best, minus Howard, far as facilities and whatnot. But it's night and day. Another thing, we don't invest in our communities or our black men. But we want black men to serve only when it benefits the community. So I've noticed a pattern, Obsidian, when it comes down to servitude, that we want black men to serve. But when it comes down to power, honor, and respect, then we want to aggrandize the women. And that's the problem that I see. We don't do enough to respect our men in a position that will make it applicable for them to stay and continue to facilitate change. But the crisis that we currently have Obsidian with the dissemination of the breakdown in the community and family, we expect one black man to be a savior. And remember this, Deion Sanders gave a lot of his own money to Jackson State to help bring that school up to par. And they've done studies. They said that Jackson State for a while.
Shout out to my man Jay Peril for that 5. Jay Peril said, there isn't a good way to leave to be messy. No one. There isn't a good way to leave. It will always be messy. No way to say goodbye. No, I agree with you 1,000%. I agree with you 1,000%. Thank you, sir.
Have been selling out the stadium for years. So where was the money to get the water crisis and the water situation taken care of? So why should Deion Sanders value Jackson State more than he valued his own future, family, and legacy? And so some will argue that he's done enough. Now I do understand why some are frustrated because they felt like he played them, and he talked about PWIs and how they have money and all of that. But after a while, man, when you're in those kind of environments where you're constantly trying to help people and trying to build folks, it's stressful, man. It drains on you, and because I've been through it, trying to go to other communities, help them out and all that. But my logic is, if you don't value your school and value giving back, why should I? Why should I be the sacrificial lamb?
That's a very good point. Let me jump in here. Mr. says, I know plenty of HBCU grads that have never given back one penny back to the university. Now we do have to. There is another BFF tie-in here, and I'm surprised nobody's brought it up yet. Brittany Renner is a graduate. She's an alumna of Jackson State University.
See, I didn't know that.
Oh yes. Brittany Renner, the no.
Right. One could argue, why haven't Brittany Renner given, Brittany Renner. I got confused with Brittany Griner. I was thinking he was talking about Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner, I think, went to Baylor. But she haven't given back to her university. A lot of people don't give back to their universities. Now, I understand why some don't give back, because they feel like the HBCUs sometimes don't take care of their students as far as facilities and their customer service. And there's been a lot of scandals at some of these HBCUs, not all, but it's an interesting conversation to say the least.
Oh yeah, Brittany Renner, not Griner. Yeah. I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Yes, sir. Renner. Yeah, right.
Brittany Renner is a graduate of Jackson State, and we all saw how that turned out. So my question is this: are HBCUs now the main purveyors and factories and repositories of black female fuckery?
I haven't been on campus in a long time, so I couldn't tell you.
You know what I think what people really want out of people like Deion Sanders. Like, you guys follow college track and field at all? The one guy just left NCAA, North Carolina A&T, Ross. His son was an Olympian. He built up A&T to be a national track power down at A&T. Okay, and bigger schools were trying to get him for years. I think A&T placed in the top 3 in the NCAA track and field, and Tennessee came, just threw a bunch of money at him, and now he's headed to Tennessee this year. I think that's what people really want to see. I think people are, first of all, people don't follow track and field like maybe I do. I think that's what people want to see is something like that. Okay, if you do something like that and you want to move on, it's okay. I think people might be okay with it. But some people were really upset with Randolph Ross wanting to leave A&T and going to Tennessee because he had built up A&T and he had some serious teams down there in track and field at a HBCU.
But this point about boosterism is so huge because that's the game. That's the way the game is. You can debate whether it's right or wrong. That's how the game works. You want a good program, in this case, football program. It was the same thing with basketball. You want a top tier Division I NCAA program. That takes money. That's just the bottom line here. It takes money to do that. So I don't understand why people are upset. Really, this is really a commentary about, in my opinion, this is really about the commentary of how raggedy I hate to say this, how raggedy the HBCUs are. I know that's harsh to say, but it's the truth. My man, Red Planet Photography says, when Brittany Renner going to give back? Now, see, that's my question. Has Brittany Renner, if she's famous, has she written a check the way Dr. Dre wrote a check to USC? Has anybody heard about that?
Well, she came and spoke. She came and spoke to the Jackson State football team. So that's did do exactly
that. What my man E-Man says right here. He said that's why Prime had her talk to the team. But see, she was warning the brothers about BFF. I'm saying, did she go into her purse and pay any money to her alma mater? Yay or nay?
If she's having to share a car with her mama after she broke up with her man, I don't think she has any money to give.
So that's part of the problem right there. Look, I know this is harsh. I just got to, you know what? Mr. Hill does it better than I do. He says, I went to school at Valley in Mississippi, same as Jackson State University, and that place is raggedy. Mr. says, I'm from that area. It's night and day from where he inherited it. Used condoms all over the pavement.
His...
And that's a problem. You got used condoms all over the pavement. You don't respect the beautification of your campus. And a lot of these young kids in this generation now don't respect it as well. But you want Deion Sanders to stay and continue to build on a trash pile when the same people in the community don't honor and respect their own school as well. That doesn't make any sense to me. But hold tight.
You go to Colorado University. Do they have used condoms all over the pavement? You go to Northwestern. Do they have used condoms all over the pavement? I'm just simply saying, man.
They don't have them at my school.
University. Is Wayne State University? They got used condoms all over the pavement. Are they turning out Brittany Renner? Is Brittany Renner coming from Northwestern? Is Brittany Renner coming from Brown? Is Brittany Renner coming from Johns Hopkins? We got to ask these questions honestly here.
Well, Deion's offices and the locker room was broken into no less than 3 or 4 times and robbed.
And that's a problem. That's a problem when your locker room and office is broken into no more than 3 or 4 times. But Deion Sanders is supposed to stay in that condition, a Hall of Fame coach, and continue to give back to a community that cannot even honor him or respect him and his office. A lot of times when black folks go back to their own communities, sadly, some of them, and we're not saying all, it could be a matter of life or death, sadly. A lot of these rappers that went back to their community trying to be altruistic and give. You can't go back to those communities till the mindset and the value systems change in that said community. Until that happens, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Shout out to my man Top Gun for that $2 super sticker. He said to Negus TV, he hurt you. And I will drop the link, Top Gun, at some point. I would love to hear you and Negus and some of the other brothers give y'all commentary because I think it's an interesting conversation to say the least. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that too, Top Gun. Appreciate it, brother.
Wow. Yeah. One time while they were playing at a homecoming game and they hit it. Yeah. Oh, that's on it's on YouTube as well, where they broke into the facilities and stole from him.
So
at least 3 times. Yeah.
Well, let me read to you. Let me read this to you, fellas. We can deal with that. So K. George says boosterism at these big PWIs, that means predominantly white institutions. The university, Harvard, Northwestern, Columbia, Stanford, and so on and so on and so on, have generational wealth supporting them. HBCUs haven't had that luxury from their alumni. So check this out.
That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
Buck Dodgers writes this. Here you go. Buck Dodgers writes this. Oh, man, in 1 year, black folks spend, ready for this, $47 billion on Lincolns. Not $47 billion on cars, period. $47 billion on one type of car, Lincolns. $3.7 billion on alcohol, $2 billion on sneakers, and $9 billion on hair care and cosmetics, but we don't have the money to help the HBCUs. Rookie Weave gets more support than Jackson State University, ladies and gentlemen.
So this is what I'm going to say.
Sad but true.
I went to Wayne State, and that's a directional school. And when I first started going there in 2006, it was a big thing on campus. They would say that our endowment was way too low for a school of our size. We had like 35,000 students, and we only had like a $45 million endowment. It was really bad. Well, what they started doing was they really started trying to make sure, one thing, they have a campus life now. So for instance, they hit me up every year, and I give between $1,200 and $2,500 a year to Wayne State, which isn't a lot, but they're making sure all the people who graduate, they put the money in the pot. And that's how these endowments get built up. Yeah, when at University of Michigan, when Stephen Ross drops, his $50 million or $100 million that catches headlines, but where the real money is built up is if you have, 50,000, 60,000 alumni, if everybody's pumping in $1,000 a year, that money grows and adds up very quickly. And it's very obvious with the HBCU grads, the alumni giving just isn't there in density like it needs to be. Because
we know the reason why, because they're giving the money on Lincolns and buying blunt wrap papers. Let me get this brother right here, Rich Turner. Thank you so much for the $10 cash app. He says, for On the Wood, shout out to the brother Sir Hale Speaks Indeed. Thank you so much for that. Let me read this right here. Kelvin says, but y'all want him to stay. His own folks robbing his locker room. Talking about Deion when he was at Jackson State. Mr. Heel says, when I was a freshman, I had buddies that used to go to JSU on the weekends and would tell me to bring at least $50 and you're guaranteed some action. They go, so I guess they raised the price a little bit down there in Mississippi. It's called the $50 holla down there. You were saying, Chris, your face says it. Oh, yeah, look on your face. Go right ahead, bro.
Yeah, so I just looked at my.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris, because you're a graduate of Wayne State, coach clinician. You're a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill. Did y'all have to deal with the $50 holla at Wayne State or the $50 holla at Chapel Hill?
Well, in Detroit. So you have to remember when I was at Wayne State, what's name was in full effect. Who are those guys? Black BMF was in full effect in Detroit. So the girls costed a little bit more money than $50 because it was a little because no, we would go to the State Theater. So my Detroit guys here in the chat, you go to State Theater, you go to a couple places, and BMF is in the building. Hey. The prices of everything go up, the drinks, the girls, everything. So you couldn't compete with that working, 11.
Well, at least you didn't have condoms all over the joint.
But yeah, I was making $11 an hour at a bank thinking I was doing good. And, you had a guy, who was making $15,000 a day out of a dope.
Or the drug game. Blowing money fast, but at least you didn't have any condoms on the pavement. What about you, Coach and clinician? What's the situation at UNC Chapel Hill?
Well, like I said, I went to Central undergrad first. I went back as an older student, when I was 34, but I didn't see that. Remember that there are tiers to HBCUs and there are tiers to PWIs. Central is more of like it's more of an upscale HBCU. It's a research. It's a baccalaureate school. It's a lot of merit scholars. I'm going to North Carolina Central like Duke and Chapel Hill, but definitely you didn't see it at Chapel Hill, man. It's like night and day, man. Sadly, I mean, HBCUs do have their good points, like they work to build their students, but they can do a lot better with the attitude. They can do better with customer service. The PWI's customer service is superior, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the HBCU. Even when I was in community college, the community college customer service was better. But I know the HBCUs, it's like they had attitude sometimes. Sometimes your financial aid was messed up. They were acting like they were doing you a favor when they were there to serve you. And so it was night and day. But I have heard stories. I'll say like at some of the HBCUs in Charlotte, like Shaw and Johnson C. Smith. That's in Charlotte. Or maybe even St. Aug that you do have those issues. They'll have sex with you for a snack pack or or back in the day. Back in the day, I used to hear it. They said, yeah, you could give them a snack pack or something from Popeyes. You know, you might get you some tails of action, man. So.
So you're saying the same thing that Mr. Hill said right here. He said she
right.
Take a White Castle and smash later. White Castle, get the bag of White Castle.
Right.
Appreciate you, brother, for the $10 cash app, KPE Worldwide LLC, and he writes in his message. Appreciate you for that $10 cash app. He says, because Kevin Samuels said you the man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. Y'all keep hitting that cash app, man. $ Obsidian Radio, $ Obsidian Radio. We've been temporarily demonetized here at Obsidian Radio while I get everything together to come back into compliance with the YouTube Pilot Bureau. But you know they say no one monkey don't stop the show. $ Obsidian Radio, $ Obsidian Radio. We are in open forum discussion, so all topics are fair game. Two things we're talking about right now. The first thing we're talking about is the great Deion Sanders debate. Everybody knows what happened. Did he jump ship from GASU to go to CU, or is he simply doing what all Americans are doing and farming out their talents to the highest bidder? Which one is it? What does Deion owe the community, or has he already given that to office and he's free to go now? What do you have to say about that? The second thing we got to talk about is this lovely lady on YouTube. I had never heard of her before. Brother brought her to my attention over the weekend. She goes by the name of the Filipina P, P-E-A, like sweet pea. And she has weighed in on the Passport Brothers debate. And I've reached out to her to see if I can bring her live on the air. I thought it was very interesting because, up until now, it's largely been just black men and black women kind of going back and forth. But now, you have ladies like this one, the Filipina P, weighing in. And it'd be very interesting to see what the lovely ladies will have to say about that.
The funny part.
So here's the thing. Here's what a lot of Black American women did not understand when they were slandering foreign ladies is that, the internet is worldwide now, and a lot of these women do speak English. So guess what? They heard you. They heard you. And they're responding. You wouldn't take kindly to people calling you dirty foot and, you don't have no education and you like you're some lesser being because you want to have a relationship and want a family and all of that. They heard that. And they're responding.
Yeah, these ladies, because she was responding to about maybe half a dozen videos, TikTok and that sort of thing. And the majority, it was one guy, but the majority of the ladies there are obviously black. And wow, they were calling them dirty foot and third worlder. They poor, you're just docile and all the rest of it. They was saying all kind of crazy stuff, and she was responding to the point.
So, I don't know if you know this. There's two different types of Asians out there.
Okay.
They what they have what they call dirty Asians or jungle Asians. And then they have
Asians. Oh,
no,
wow.
No, and this is not my words. This is like out there. Google it.
It's true. He's right. I spoke to one a couple of days ago. She was from Vietnam, and she said she was from the jungle. I'm like, really? Yeah. And so he's right.
Yeah. So then you have fancy Asians. So jungle Asians are that's gonna be like Vietnam, Thailand,
right? Southeast Asia.
Yeah, Southeast Asia. And then fancy Asians is like China, Japan, Korea.
Right, they would be your more, I guess you could say, first world Asian countries. I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So the culture of the Philippines is going to be a little different. So I watched that video she did. It's accurate to Asian culture, I think, overall, but I think there's still a division between the two areas, definitely.
Wow. This video I saw of hers, and again, I reached out to her to see if she'd be willing to come live on the air to discuss all of this, but I was just taken aback. It just goes to show that the Black manosphere wins yet again. The Passport Brothers have broken through into the mainstream like a mofo. If you got this lady all the way in the Philippines, and she's got like upwards of 200,000 subs on YouTube. She's weighing in on this from all the way over there. That tells you something, Pablo. That says something. That's huge.
Yeah, most of those 200,000 are American men.
Wow. And she specifically addressed the Passport brothers, Black American men who are fed up with the effery, fed up with, we can go down, we can, call a roll. We're fed up with I'm a PhD, fed up with Big Shirley, fed up with I don't need a cookbook, fed up with, and all. And it was funny when she was responding to these lovely ladies. I'm sitting there like, they have the self-awareness of a turnip. You don't realize, ladies, you're saying the very things that these guys want to get away from. It's funny. I listen to a lot of ladies who take issue with Passport brothers, SYSBM, and ladies like the Filipina P, even Black ones, like a Danica Marie. She came under serious fire by saying, hey, look, I don't blame these guys for wanting to leave. She got a lot of grief for that. It's funny to me. The question I have to ask these ladies, because the argument is addressing the ladies. They ain't nothing but pick-me's and so on and so forth. Okay. Because they only want to tell Black men what they want to hear and so on and so forth. That's okay. Fine. Got it. Here's my question to you ladies that feel that way. What is the alternative? You're saying these brothers shouldn't be listening to these women because they're fake, they're phony, basically accusing them of being chameleons and all and so forth. They only tell them what they want to hear and so on and so forth. Got it. Fair enough. What is the alternative? Then I look at Filipina. Let me just say off the rip. I have nothing against Asian ladies. Got nothing against them. My first choice is the Afro archetype, if you will. But I'm looking at the Filipina P, and then I'm looking at the ladies that she is featuring in this video that she's responding to. I'm supposed to choose those sisters over her? That's the alternative to the pick me? I'm supposed to do that? Seriously? I mean, really, I'm asking these ladies, what is the alternative? Okay, fine. These ladies, they just faking the fun. I'm giving them their argument. Fine. These ladies are just faking the fun. They're just trying to get a green card. They just Danica Marie and all the rest of it.
All right, guys, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. Hold tight.
Good day.
WAF. Philippine to all know that all know and that she was responding to. A lot of Black women are of the view that it's beneath them to do that for a Black man. And they have to feel that way, but I'm saying they do believe that.
Yes, sir. Right. I've seen it, man. I've seen it happen several times. I even had, I was joking with my wife one time, and I was just telling her about soft skills, and she understood it better as time went on, but she thought that being submissive and honorable to a man made her weak. And what they don't understand is that no, it actually makes you strong, because there was a song I've seen back in the 80s or 90s said, "Your weakness, his sweetness is my weakness." Well, her submissive, her kindness is a man's weakness. It's a perfect union. Her being submissive and feminine, a lot of times, it's what gets her the things that she wants. But they take being feminine and soft as being weak, which in essence leaves them in a state of perpetual animation, because they have not conditioned themselves to honor and respect men. Because a lot of them, I'm saying, due to trauma from dealing with these clowns, these dusty men, they can't be vulnerable. And then some of them are living through vicarious trauma of their mothers. And then some of them are this mean as hell. Some of them are this rebellious by default.
Oh, yeah.
They're just rebellious, and they're gonna do what they want to do. And I tell men, you got to deal with women according to power and strength. Even though there are things beneath that, I would say power and strength are the main pointers when it comes down to relationships. And when you deal with power and strength, then you have the upper hand. But if you don't come in with power and you don't come in demanding what you want, then sadly some women will use that to their advantage, to the point when you get in that relationship, they say, well, I don't want no man controlling me. Well, a lot of men are controlled by their women. Happy wife, happy life is control. When I as a therapist, I'm saying, I know men right now, man. I know a client, he ain't had sex with his wife in 9 years, man.
Oh my God!
Nine years, brother. Yeah. 9 years. 9 years. And
okay. Hang on. Because wait a minute. Are they having sex with other people outside the marriage?
No. Well, he's not doing anything. I don't know about her, but she got mad over something. I got to be careful with HIPAA, but she got mad over. She just
got mad. She just got mad.
Well, no, he had a text where he was talking to another woman, but that's, to me, that's abuse, man. 9 years. If
we're gonna go from it from a scriptural standpoint, yeah, that is abusive. You have a duty to service your spouse.
The service your spouse, right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. The scripture said, render unto one another to do benevolence. Actually, the gospel said the only time you should not give your husband sex is when you fasting and praying, because that's not your right. But they'll talk about, I love the law and he heard my cry and I love Jesus. But when they come down to following the dictates and the mandates of the scripture, they have what's called biblical a la carte. They pick and choose what parts of the Bible they want to live by. And I told my homeboy, I told the client, I said, man, it's no way in hell that I'm gonna go 9 years providing and protecting for.
Oh no, that's
and I can't get no loving. And you mad over something? I mean, he didn't literally cheat on her, but he was talking to a woman. She found it, and I just think that's an excuse, for her to do what she want to do while trying to hold on to him. But man, I see it all the time. I see it with white men as well. The women make excuses. They tired or whatever. They don't give the men no action, man. But when men talk about it or talk about their issues, it's either minimized or they try to find a justification for why the woman is doing it. That's why a lot of times men have a strong aversion of sitting for going to traditional female therapists. Not all. There's some good female therapists that are competent and they understand the struggles of men. But by and large, I would say in general, a lot of therapists are woke. They don't look at things from a heteronormative traditional perspective. And because of that, a lot of men they don't feel like they have no allies when they're in the therapeutic process, and that's why I'm gonna expand my brand this year, and probably even start my own practice this year, because we need to get the message out as it relates to male mental health and men getting their needs met, consistent with healthy masculinity.
Yeah. This is insane. It's 11:30. You're listening to Obsidian Radio. We had on Sir Hale earlier, and now we're in open forum discussion talking about this Deion Sanders issue, and even more important, the Filipina P. That's the name of her channel over on here on YouTube, and you can check her out on Instagram and so on and so forth. She's a Filipina, lives in the Philippines. She actually weighed in on the SYSBM's Passport Brothers debate. I watched the video. Brother sent it to me over the weekend. I watched it, and wow, I was like, I got to see if I can get her on the show. This is the first that I'm aware of. This is the first where a non-black woman has weighed in on this issue, and I'm curious to see what, if anything, the sisters will say in response. It's interesting. I can't recall a similar thing happening for Crystal and Karazin. In other words, the swirling sisters movement, right? Divestors, whatever you want to call them. I'm not aware of a non-black, and let's just get right to it, white man of any consequence on YouTube coming out in support of the Crystal and Karazins of the world. I can't think of any. And she's been around for a long time. I can't think of any. Now, there have been white guys who come, but they've been, rank and file guys. I'm talking about guys who have a major following like this lady does. Almost 200,000 subs, coming out in support. I can't recall anything like that. What do you guys make of that? That the passport, you get somebody like Filipina P speaking up for them, but there ain't nobody on the white male side that has that kind of following or bigger speaking up on the Crystal and Karazin side, on the swirling side. What do you guys make of that?
Well, Obsidian, the ladies, the Black American ladies who were, doing their TikTok videos and stuff like that in response to the Passport Bros, they were being pretty rough on the foreign ladies with some of their rhetoric, right? And again, like I said, this internet, it's all over the globe now. And people speak different languages, and they're aware of what's going on and being said. And so it was only a matter of time before someone like a Filipina P responded. Now, let me give an example. I was in Medellin. I was sitting at Sweet Georgia Cafe. Shout out to Rob, who's the owner of Sweet Georgia Cafe in Poblado. He's a black guy that owns a restaurant down in Medellin. And there was a a black guy with a black American woman sitting at a table, eating and talking and having a discussion, talking about guess what? Black American and black male and female relationships and relationships in the U.S. And the conversation began to get kind of heated. Well, I was with sitting there having a little meal with a paisa. That's a Colombian woman from Medellin.
Guys, and Tim, when you get a minute, tell me what you think. But guys, this is part of the show where we go down the rabbit hole. I'm about to end the stream in a minute. I got things to do. But this is the part of the stream where we go down the rabbit hole, guys. We're going down the rabbit hole. And I'd love to hear from some of you brothers in about a few seconds. As you guys tell me what y'all think about Deion Sanders' departure. Down the rabbit hole we go. This is the part of the show where we assess, examine, collaborate. All right, guys, the link has been dropped. If you guys want to come back on, Tim, you can pop back in for a minute, brother, if you want to add to the conversation real quick before I end the stream. But Deion Sanders right. Was he wrong? Negus TV, brother, if you want to come in and chime in, you can. Whoever, any of you brothers want to chime in about Deion Sanders' departure, feel free to chime in. The link has been dropped. And I would love to hear you guys take real fast before I move on. So the link has been dropped. If you guys want to come back in, Tim, if you want to come back in, sir, feel free to pop in real fast before I end this stream. Got about 15 more minutes. If you guys want to add to the conversation about Deion Sanders departing from Jackson State, and there's been a lot of consternation, as I said earlier in the stream. Some or many are frustrated. Some felt like he did the right thing. Some felt like he didn't do the right thing. But I will argue that Deion Sanders did more for Jackson State than Jackson State did for Deion Sanders. That's in my own personal opinion. But I can understand the different points of views as well. It's all in perspective. And that's why we have the conversations. So the link has been dropped, guys. If y'all want to have a conversation, if not, I'm going to end the stream. Got things to do. The link has been dropped. Y'all want to have or add to the conversation about Deion Sanders going abroad or going to Colorado. Some feel that it's going to help with recruitment and also help give the conversation about black men. So shout out to my man Juan. How you doing, Juan? What's going on, brother? How you doing, sir? Real quick.
Do good working. I'll make it real quick. Deion
Go
was
ahead,
the one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, I believe. I don't know if it's me or you, but you're breaking up. Are you still there, Juan?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's broken up.
Okay, I apologize. Let me go ahead and log out and give room for your other chatters. I apologize, sir.
All right, no problem, man. No problem. All right, so Juan came on, guys. If anybody else would like to come on and add to the conversation before I end the stream, what do you think about Deion Sanders going abroad to the University of Colorado? Was he right? Was he wrong? Did you agree with him? Did you disagree with him? what does this mean as we move forward? As I said, I felt before in the past, the current community that we have is broken. It's extremely broken. And I just don't know, guys. I just don't know we will ever get back to where we used to be. We had more hope in the past, but the world has changed radically. Things have changed radically. And I just don't know if we have enough positive socialization, but also enough investment for our men and also for our families to have what we had in the past. I just don't know. I don't even know if I see it. Ideally, it would be good to have that like we had in the past, but the world has changed so radically in these last couple of years, guys. So once again, guys, the link has been dropped. Anybody want to come through, please come through. Shout out to my man, Top Gun for the two. He said Pioneer Negas TV, he hurt you. Well, I would love to hear from Pioneer Negas. Pioneer, you got some points. I would love to hear from Pioneer Negas TV. And also, I'd love to hear from Top Gun. This would be a good debate from Top Gun and Pioneer Negas. I would love to hear from Pioneer Negas. You know, you come up, brother, if you want to cam up and give your perspective, Pioneer. You sound very passionate about your position. So I would love to hear from Pioneer as well. Top Gun, I'd love to hear from you, brother, if you want to pop in for a few. Or anyone else that would love to pop in and talk about this Deion Sanders taking the Jackson State job. So I'm going to give you guys about a few minutes. And then after that, I'm going to end the stream. Anyone want to come up? Tim Harden, I saw you a minute ago, brother. Feel free to pop back on, man. Okay, there go Doc. Oh, there we go. Doc, what's going on, brother? How would you like to add to the conversation, Doc? Thank you, brother.
Hey, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, brother?
Thank you, brother. How would you like to add to the conversation about Deion Sanders?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you perfect. Yes, sir.
Good. I'm rolling in my vehicle. Mm-hmm. Listen, man, this is a great conversation, man, and
thank you, sir.
I think it's very, very important. I've seen across social media there's some people who are minimizing this by saying, why are we so riled up over a entertainer or an athlete, that sort of thing, and you know, there are other things that we should be worrying about. But I take a different perspective, man. I think this is very, very important because it speaks to some of the deep-seated psychological and ideological problems that we have in Black America relating to Black men. And you hit it. You hit the nail on the head and everything in terms of projectionism. You know, the problem that many have with abandonment. So many of us have been, you know, raised without strong male figures. We have not seen. So many of us have not seen the type of manhood, masculinity that Deion Sanders represents, man. You know, listen, man, I'm a Florida boy, man. I grew up in Miami. Deion Sanders grew up in Fort Myers, which is a little more than, you know, 2 hours away from Miami, Florida. So I'm very familiar with the territory. I watched Deion Sanders, man, coming up. I played football in high school, man, you know, and he was a major inspiration to all of us who are coming up. You know what I mean? I was an offensive lineman. Here's how deep it was, man. I played offensive line.
Oh, really?
I was a right tackle. I was a right tackle. I played offensive line, and I idolized a defensive back. I want you to think about that.
Right.
So you're looking at a defensive back who knew who he was. He understood not just the type of sport, or rather sports arena that he was in, but he understood the business of it. He understood the impact of it. Everything that Deion has done since, you know, he became this world famous athlete, going back to his days at Florida State, has been deliberate.
Right.
And you know when he went to the Atlanta Falcons and he did what he did, and he played for the Braves, and, you know, going from the Falcons to San Francisco to the Cowboys and what have you, man, the pattern, the blueprint for who Deion Sanders was at that time and has not changed. You understand? And so it's not as though
so what's your take on? Do you think he can cause? Do you think he can actually extend the conversation about black coaches being at PWIs and Power 5 conferences? What's your take on that?
Of course. Here's the big thing. The big thing, and I've said this is there was a great deal of discrimination and stigma related to black men as coaches at the Division I level. Okay, let me tell you this, man. Years ago, I met Tyrone Willingham. Tyrone Willingham, if you guys who've been around, he was the first black coach at Notre Dame back in the early 2000s. And it was a big deal about him going to Notre Dame. And Tyrone Willingham, he had a very short tenure there. Okay, he wasn't very successful as a coach, right? But it was a big deal. It was a big deal because there were so few black coaches at that level. Particularly at a school like Notre Dame. Here's the point. There's a Jim Crow plantation system that exists all across Division I college football, which is no different from the NFL. And I really think that what Deion Sanders is doing, he's trying to break up that whole plantation system. And I think that he's extending his work because college football is black men. Right. That's what you're dealing with. Right. Whether you're talking about whether you're talking about the the HBCUs and the SWACs and the other conferences, or you're talking about D1 or D 1A, 1A3, so on and so forth. All football is black men. Right. So it doesn't matter. You're still dealing with primarily black men, but you're dealing with black men at a different level. And he can still have an impact on black men being at a PWI that will reach down to black men who are outside those different conferences, regions, and the like. And it's already been said, man. He's already laid the blueprint for JSU, and right now somebody just has to run with it. Eddie George is at TSU, Tennessee State. You have other guys at other schools that are who are former NFL athletes, and I'm sure others are going to come behind them. So, man, the blueprint has already been laid out there. All they have to do is just expand on it.
Right. And people don't understand the landscape of coaching, man. Colleges will get rid of you as quick as they hire you. And I get what some are saying. I mean, I can see both sides a little bit, but at the end of the day, Deion Sanders doesn't owe anybody anything. He's prime time, man. They should count on the honor that Deion Sanders went to Jackson State. Let me ask you a question, Doc. You taught at PWIs and historically black colleges. I want you to share with the audience the greatest difference that you see and why some HBCU, not all, don't more or less talk the talk when it comes down to building their institution. Now, I understand that HBCUs a lot of times don't get the resources and the money like white schools, but do you feel like HBCUs invest enough in their schools like the PWIs from your experience?
Well, I mean, of course, there's a resource difference, and right. The reality is that I mean, the vast majority of HBCUs cannot compete with PWIs in terms of resources. That it is what it is. And yeah, there is a major difference. But here's the thing. HBCUs, if they want to, HBCUs and their alumni and everybody associated with them, HBCUs could be more than what they are. Okay. And here's the thing. I taught at an HBCU in South Carolina that was led. I was at Claflin University for 7 years in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And the president that I worked for, he was a phenomenal man. And the school that I worked for, the president I worked for, was one HBCU and president that kind of stood out amongst the rest. This was a man who was a fundraiser. He came to the school. He was a graduate of the school. When he took over the school, The school was not doing well. It was, in very bad shape in terms of facilities, in terms of endowments. And in less than a 20-year period, this man, he's passed away now. His name is Henry Tisdale. He built it up. He built it up. And the school that I worked at, was a beacon in terms of HBCUs. But, right next door, we had state schools. We had South Carolina State. And in Columbia, in South Carolina, there was HBCU in Columbia, South Carolina, Benedict College. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. With the right leadership, and that's key. When you have leadership of a certain caliber with a certain commitment across the board, things can change. And the reality is that too many of us we are comfortable. We're comfortable with a standard of leadership that is not always optimal. I'll put it like that. And see, unlike white schools, they change leadership. I mean, white schools are driven by money. They're driven by power and so many other things. You have lots of checks and balances. You understand? So if you don't perform, you're out of there. You know what I mean? And that's how the checks and balances work. Whereas in HBCUs, in many HBCUs, especially in the academic arena, you can have somebody who can be, sit in a position for 10, 20, 30 years, who has not amassed any significant record in terms of, academic achievement. So there's a whole different thing, man. And there's a whole different history and culture that goes with all the stuff that we're talking about. But at the end of the day, Black people have the wherewithal to make these institutions more than what they are.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. It's pros and cons to both. But before I end the stream, do you think Deion Sanders is going to change the game? I think he is, man, with recruitment. How do you think he's going to change the game, in your opinion, Doc?
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt. I have absolutely no doubt. I suspect that he will be, at Colorado, maybe, 3 years, 4 years, or what have you. It would be, very ambitious. And I'll be happy to see this, but it's very ambitious to expect a national championship from him. But I would say this: he is going to out recruit, I believe, most coaches in the country. I think that he is going to do something in that situation, right? That's going to literally shake up the Division 1A college world. Right. I really believe that.
I believe that too. He might be the next Black Nick Saban. He might take Colorado to a whole nother level. And who's to say that he might not get a chance at Florida State? Somebody said he was trying to go to Florida State, but they never gave him a chance. Is that true?
Yeah, and that's a part of it. That's a part of it. So when we talk about discrimination, when you have discrimination and stigma, there is this deep perception. Now, I've talked to coaches. I've talked to former head coaches. I've talked to offensive coordinators, linebacker coaches at white schools, man. And the consensus is, man, when it comes down to the highest levels of leadership in terms of college football, there is a great deal of prejudice and discrimination that is there. They just don't believe. They just don't believe in the idea of a Black coach, especially in the South. Here's the thing: especially in the South, especially in the SEC. Okay. Because the reality is that much of football in the South still is driven by a plantation model. That white male runs football in the South. Okay, the boosters are white. They tend to be Republican, and they're only used to seeing Black men. If they're only used to seeing Black men as players and at best as coordinators, as assistant coaches, but they're not used to seeing Black men as head coaches. That's why his own alma mater had a hard time with him. That's why Auburn did not give him a chance.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there was Auburn. You had Auburn, you had FSU, and then outside the South, you had Nebraska.
Right. So what do you say to the critics, Doc, that he used Jackson State as a stepping stone to prove his point, only to leave Jackson State? What do you say about that?
They're not wrong. I mean, what are you supposed to do? I don't think he used this solely as a stepping stone, but it was a stepping stone. I mean, you're talking about somebody. You're talking about a very competitive, ambitious human being
yes, sir.
who wants to play at the highest levels. You know, and I mean, he made a rational decision. You know, and the thing about it is that Jackson State used him.
I agree. That's what I said earlier. Jackson State used him because, one could argue that some of the other schools didn't give him a chance. But Jackson State did use him too, because they used his star claim, his charisma, to take Jackson State and put them at a whole nother level. Jackson State had a good fan base, but one can't argue that Deion Sanders not only took them to another level, but made them better than they were before Deion Sanders got there. So I think he's going to change the game, man, in a good way, man. I think he's going to show some of these. Colorado, I think, going to win by getting Deion Sanders, and I think he's going to change the game and the trajectory of, because now Deion Sanders is a master recruiter, man. And a lot of these kids will go, like Travis Hunter, he was the #1 recruit in the nation, and he went to Jackson State. So imagine Deion flipping the screen, man, getting some of these top-tier black athletes to go to Colorado and win them a national championship. You know, I might even be a temporary Colorado fan just for the sake of seeing the brother in that high office, man.
Listen, man. I haven't been a big fan of college football in years, and now that Deion is changing the game, I got new eyes for college football. Okay,
no doubt.
I'm serious. It has regenerated this whole situation, and not just this, but when Deion initially went to JSU and made all that noise, I regained kind of an interest in college football. Okay, and so this is just heightened the interest. You know what I'm saying? Because you got somebody at that level with that caliber of skill, acumen, and charisma, and all of that. Okay, who is going to do something that is unprecedented, I believe, in the world of college football at the highest levels.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think he's going to not only change the game, but I think he's going to take Colorado to a whole nother level, man. He's about to take. And here's the other thing.
Here's the other thing. It was a fair exchange, man. It was a fair exchange.
Right.
Between Jackson State and Deion Sanders. There is no robbery in a fair exchange.
Right.
There's no robbery. Right. And in fact, I would venture to say that they got more out of the deal than he did.
Right. Because somebody was saying that they were only paying him like $300,000, but but when they decided to leave, they want to offer him $1 million, which still ain't nothing for somebody Deion Sanders caliber, man.
And the fact is, let's get biblical on it, man. Prophets do not have honor in their own countries. That's biblical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you something. This man, and again, only the half, not even the half, has been told about the way in which he was treated. Can you imagine the level of jealousy, the level of animosity that he had to deal with in Mississippi in terms of coaches? You saw Eddie Robinson Jr. You saw how we engaged him. That wasn't just competition. That was jealousy. That was jealousy. That was envy. That was animosity. Okay. Okay. So you can only imagine when you.
I agree.
Just imagine what happens when you have somebody like that with all that accomplishment, all that swag and charisma. Think about what happens whenever Deion Sanders walks into a room, okay, and how people react to him. Half of the room is happy that he is there, but you got half of the room that despises the fact that he is there. They hating on him. They don't like the swag. They don't like the charisma.
They don't like it, right? And you know what?
They're jealous.
Deion's a Leo, man. So it makes even more sense. He got that Leo swag. August 9th, to say the least. So, he's flashy. He can back it up. He ain't gonna back down. He's a man to his word. He say what he mean. He mean what he say. So I didn't realize he was a Leo. So it makes even more sense that he got that Leo swag, man. James Turner, how you doing? Sorry, I would like to add to the conversation. I got to end the stream in about 5-10 minutes. I got to go. Go ahead, brother. Hello? James Turner, go ahead, brother. Yeah, you sound like you're breaking up. Yeah, you're breaking up, James. Tim Hardy. How would you like to answer the conversation, brother? Go ahead.
Hey, man, I'm so glad to be on finally with shout out to Dr. Ron Neal. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, how you doing, man?
Good, finally. So now you hear my voice. We always communicating through.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Kosher, I had to hop off. I was trying to end my shift on my good government job. On my good government job, but I had to hop back on because I wanted to really bring this one point in. Really everybody has a right point in this, but it's deeper and more nuanced on the Deion. Are we still talking about the Deion?
Yeah, we said talking about the Deion thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, kind of a backdrop. Deion lived in Dallas. I'm from Dallas.
Right.
When he played for the Cowboys. This isn't his first shot at coaching. He actually started his own charter school here in Dallas, and he kind of tried to compile this super, because Texas, we think we're the football state. So he compiled a super high school team. And long story short with that, the school went defunct. They got in some trouble with the UIL. So then he went to broadcasting or whatever. And what I saw from that experience and then just some other stuff he did around the DFW, Deion really comes off as he's really about Deion.
Oh yeah,
and about his kid.
Yeah, I believe that. Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it from that angle because several things that's happened there, and taking nothing from man, I mean, what level, if you win 12 games straight, you can't take that from nobody. That's commendable on his part. I think he put together a good team at Jackson, but he still was. The undercurrent was about Deion. The reason why I'm saying that because in all of his bravado and all of that, I don't know if you guys saw when they announced he was the coach at Jackson.
Yeah, I was reading it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, dude, he's crying and God sent him. And I don't know about you, brothers, but don't be laying stuff on the Lord.
Right. And that's why I put up. Yeah, the Lord told me. And so I don't know if he's using God as a crutch, man. But go ahead.
But what I felt, and of course this is, we kind of put, I guess it pops up in the news. Maybe I put it that way. In this area, because it's in the South, most of us got people that went to Grambling, Prairie View, Jackson State. We know somebody, so there is a HBCU football culture, and what we thought he was going to do was help elevate it. He took some of his money, paid some of his coaches. I think on the last end, a couple of months before last, he brought in a couple of NFL guys. Mm-hmm. And so it looked like, well, hey man, he's really trying to elevate the level of play for the young men that he was bringing on, so that we could keep. That's what we thought about, especially in Texas. We were like, well, hey man, everybody can't go to UT, Texas, that is, and Oklahoma. Why not build up our own programs? I mean, 60 years ago, Prairie View, Grambling, Morgan State, the school you went to, North Carolina Central, mm-hmm. all had programs that were, you let some old heads tell you, they were feared by PWIs. Nobody really wanted to, nobody really wanted to fool with them because they couldn't go, especially in the South. They couldn't go to the South. So we were kind of looking for Deion to say, okay, bring your expertise bring guys from the NFL, bring in you got a name. You can recruit out of your own home state, which really is the new football state, Florida. And I have to agree with, before I had to hop off, before I got on the stream, the gentleman said, with the clip you were playing, he said, that was just a kind of funny style how he did it. Now that has been done before. We were discussing that in the chat with about Lincoln Riley. He did the same thing. So that still was, you've been building this up, and then well, it seems like you've been pretending to build us up. You in it for the at least for the even if it's in the short term, you were going to try to build Jackson State up along with the spread, and that's what we were looking at. From just from the football perspective. But now I agree. That's why I say everybody's right. On the other side of the coin, it's some janky stuff.
Yeah. I can see both sides too, man. I think I can see both sides because, some people use the Lord told me when it's convenient. I do want to see him do well in a
yeah, I want to see him do well. Now, just Monday.
Go ahead.
Monday morning quarterbacking. I don't think, just personally, I don't think that's a move. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't blow up in his face. Because what might happen is, I don't know if you guys remember Kevin Sumlin. He's one of the, right. Mm-hmm. Well, he did well at U of H.
Right.
I think he played. He coached with. There was three of those.
Texas A&M.
Went to Texas A&M. You know what happened to him when he went to A&M?
Right. They got rid of him.
Now a month before they got rid of him, we have something in Texas. You go get your N-word letter. That's I want to get in. Yeah, I want to get into that too deep. Right. If you can even Google it. It is a known fact. Coaches, players at all of the Texas schools, and Kevin lost 2 games, and he got one delivered to his house. Hey, we don't need no N-word if you can't win.
I'm not surprised. So it goes back to what Doc was saying, man. Like I said, I can see both sides, man. We know they don't want to see black men at a higher level.
Yeah, they don't want to see. Yeah. So what I think, like I said, what I hope doesn't happen with what happens to him. Colorado's in the Pac-12.
Pac-12, right?
And their program has been on the decline. They've only really had, maybe in my lifetime, 3 good seasons. I think they won maybe one. I think they won the national championship once. So they brought him in thinking, hey, you're gonna bring us back to that prominence. He have a 2-loss season. He gonna get an N-word letter.
Oh no, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Like I said, I can see both sides. I can see why some are frustrated, and because if Deion had stayed at Jackson State, man, shit, he could have got a lot of 5-star recruits to come play for him.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. And let me add this to it. He billed the whole coming to Jackson as if it wasn't about money. It was about building Jackson State and the SWAC. That's kind of what, like I said, that was kind of the feeling we got. So, and I ain't really mad at him for going to get his money. Dr. Neal said it best earlier in the chat. Black men got to move for what's best for that black man.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna cut it off. Dr. Neal again, man. It's so good to be on with you.
Man, good to be on with you, brother.
No doubt. James Turner, real quick, man, about to end the stream, man. I gotta go. But go ahead, brother. Go ahead, James. Hello? I don't think that's James Turner, man. Hey, I'm gonna drop you down. James, you got to show. Yeah, that one, James, man. That was somebody that took his face and see, yeah, that was somebody that took his face and picture, man. And it appears.
But let me say something, Doc. Can I say something, man? I think it's important that we we have to look at this from the standpoint of capitalism, man. You just have to, man. And you know, you have to go back. You know, a number of months ago, Deion was on 60 Minutes. Anybody see it? It's on YouTube. He did an interview.
Yeah.
In 60 Minutes, and you know, and he was asked by Mike. I think it was Mike Wallace. I can't remember, but you know, about the prospect of him going higher or him going to you know, a white school, Division I, and what have you. And he was clear in that interview. He said that he would entertain all comers. Okay, and that was some months ago. You know. And I think Deion has been relatively transparent about who he is and his goals and what have you.
Right.
You know, and think about it. You know, even when he went to Jackson State, he was very, very vocal about the lack of resources. He was very, very vocal about the deficits that were all around him. He was very vocal about that. All right. He did not make it a secret. He said, you know what, this got to change. Okay.
Right.
And so, and even in him doing that, you get the sense that, you know what, if you all don't bring this up to the kind of standard that I need, okay, I'm gonna be up out of here. Okay.
Right.
So he did. So that was intimated in his very first introduction to the world vis-a-vis Jackson State. But back to the capitalism, Mark. Football is a dog-eat-dog world. If anyone knows it, it's Deion, okay? Deion is a competitor. Deion is willing to take the risk. There was a small window of opportunity for black coaches. There's no guarantee. For me, I wanted him to stay one more season. At least give Jackson State one more season.
Yeah, I was saying you said maybe one more season. I was saying the same
I would say give Jackson State one more season before he leaves. But here's the caveat. Here's the caveat. There's no guarantee, even if he has another undefeated season next year, that a whole bunch of doors are going to open for him. You understand? And so I think from his standpoint, it's like, you know what I mean? We have to, you know, you got to strike the fire while the iron is hot. You know what I mean? And we have to do this. And he might regret it later on, but I think that it was a risk for him that he's willing to take.
Yeah, and it's a good risk. But, you know, the thing I love about Deion, like I said, he got that Leo swag. Whatever he say, he going to back it up, man. He already told Colorado players to go ahead and hit the portal. Some say it was arrogant on his behalf because he said he got players that might be better than them. So I think he was gonna do well, man. He got a big ego, man. You know, he ain't gonna back down. And I think Deion can back up what he's saying. I think he has been honest in some way. I think he's fabricated some stuff, but I think he has been honest in many ways. But anyway, Doc, I love you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for donating to the stream. I got to go. I got clients waiting. And also, Tim, thanks for stepping in. I didn't know, Tim, about that N-word letter, man, but I'm not surprised. Anytime it comes down to black coaches, man, we got to always prove ourselves, man. And you're right. They're not used to seeing black men in a power position. You can work for them, but you know a lot of them don't want to see you in the power position. So I totally agree.
Exactly.
But I'm about to end the stream, man. And I will see you guys at some point. So Tim, thank you for tuning in, brother. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, man. I always love what you do. Keep doing it for us, man.
No doubt, brother. I appreciate it. I'm about to sign off. All right, guys, you know, it's about 53 minutes after the hour, 5 o'clock. We are about to sign off. It's been a good stream. Deion Sanders said that the Lord told him to do it, but what say you? We're about to sign off, guys, and Deion Sanders is heading all the way to the bank getting that money, guys. Be well.
Left it to the bank like go. Left it to the bank like I got it in 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s, 10s, 20, 50, 100s.
Deion Sanders is laughing all the way to the bank. Was he right? Was he wrong?
I'm a star, got no stage fright. Please don't get me mad, I'm a nice guy. My baby say I'm cute, yeah, I'm type 5. I be waking up when you go night-night. In a different zone, what's the time? Left it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Ooh, go. Left it to the bank like ha 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 ha. I got anything. 50, hundreds, tens, 20, 50, hundreds, tens, 20, 50, hundreds, tens, 20, 50, hundreds. I get it, I flip it and continue. I've been going dumb, I've been going mental. Going up, I'm on another level. All black clothes like a medal. Little this and this, little Ricky Rick. It's my grandmama, I'm her Nicky Nick. I just wanna love, but I've been hit or miss. I might up and leave, never take a pic. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. Laugh it to the bank like ha 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 ha. I got any tens, 20, 50, hundreds, tens.
Fire for your mind.
20,
Kosher. Listen.
20, 50, hundreds. In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, let's kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say
Nearly to the bank.